Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, it being 7:04, I'd like to call the Arundel Planning Board to order. May 23rd, Mildred L. Day School. Marty will start with a roll call.
Marty Kane.
John McEnroe. Tom McKim.
Bob Kuhn.
Greg Copeland.
Roger Moore.
Rich Canong.
Ted Whitwood Planner.
And Rivers Board Secretary.
Today on our agenda, we have approval of minutes from May 9th. We have a new application, Riverbend Wellness Center, especially an expansion of their parking. Item 3, proposed revisions to land use ordinance. We're going to have some discussion on DB1, the Gateway District coming into town. Item 2, under proposed revision, Downtown Business District, use and design standards, and we'll be going over some of the definitions tonight. We'll get a planner's report, conduct any other business of the public and or the board, and we'll have public comment and then adjourn. Before moving on to the approval of the minutes, however, I'd like to take just a minute on behalf of the entire board to thank Greg Copeland for his stellar participation on the board. Thank you, Greg. It's been a pleasure with you. His efforts on behalf of the board and for the citizens of Arundel has been and will always be very much appreciated. For the board's information, Greg will be moving to Portland here, so we wish you well. And that endeavor and that move then makes him ineligible to continue his service here. But all your work is appreciated.
Thank you.
Approval of minutes, May 9th. We'll move to those. I had one small detail on page 5 under utilities, the addition of the word "was" after a site evaluation. Other than that, I was fine.
With the findings of fact number 5.
You know, page 5,
Oh, page 5.
under utilities, second sentence, at evaluation coordinated and evaluation was coordinated. There's a couple ways to fix that sentence, but that was the easiest way. Anybody else?
Good.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move that we accept it with that one minor correction.
I'll second.
I have a motion to approve with a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Yeah.
Unanimous?
No, I have to abstain, I wasn't here.
And one abstention?
2.
2 abstention, Greg wasn't here. We'll move on to new applications, Riverbend Wellness Center plenary site plan, pre-application, proposal for 10-space parking lot addition to the rear of an existing medical office facility, text map 45 Route 52, Elizabeth Boucher
Correct.
is the owner and the applicant. And you, sir?
I'm Tom Lucia.
Tom?
Yes. Spouse.
The board has been provided with some notes from the town planner on the project and the plenary site plan. Would you like to brief the board
Sure.
first? Or?
Yeah, we're really just looking for some additional parking for employees and tenants of the building, and also additional area for me to push the snow, because we had some trouble getting rid of it this year.
Understand that.
It's just going to be a gravel lot behind the building.
And you're in the CCS?
CCS, SO, and RP districts.
Okay.
RP.
resource district.
Down the river.
Have you had, everybody had a chance to read these?
No,
No?
I didn't get a copy.
Okay. Should we-
Put one on the table for you, Marty.
Huh?
I put one on the table for you.
There it is.
Stand corrected, please, thank you. We're,
Several items for consideration by the board, and at the board's direction. We can either do this as an overview or just go through each of these items and get a response from them, or Ted, you can go over them yourself if you'd like.
Your choice, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection from the applicant, why don't you just proceed and we'll go through these.
The applicant basically came to the staff review committee and received a site plan, administrative site plan permit last year in June for the operation conversion of basically what it was a craft center. It was actually a vacant building, but it was once a craft center, retail into a wellness center because of the change, and a couple other things, especially internal changes. We had a plenary site plan application, excuse me, not plenary, but administrative. The applicant had some parking, that's shared parking, and there was a limitation on how much they could use the facility for different activities. As you well know, in our parking regulations, different activities require certain amounts of parking. While they at one point wanted to have 3 chiropractors and night classes, and the problem was that, of course, there was inadequate parking to do that. Since the shared parking could not be necessarily committed to the site, to the facility exclusively, which was necessary for the complement of staff that they wanted. So we gave them a permit, but with limitations on what they could do. They're now returning and asking for to expand the parking lot into the rear of the building so that they can do all the things that they had originally intended to do, expand the business and expand the clientele that they wish to have. So this application really only deals with the issue of the parking lot. And the parking lot, as Mr. Boucher said, they intend to have 10 parking spaces with a turnaround space, and obviously also a space for expansion, or at least putting a dumpster in if you want to. I don't know what it is, but there's a nice turnaround area. Also for fire engines, it's a good layout, but there's some concerns. One of the concerns about it is, and I had spoken to your wife the other day, when we first looked at it, it looked fine. Everything looked easy. It was far away enough from the river. However, when we went onto our GIS system, we suddenly found that that pesky A zone in the firm maps, the 100-year floodplain, the undocumented 100-year floodplain that has been so popular with Kennebunk and Arundel in the last few years, actually covered the entire parking lot. Now, as you well know, Chapter 1000 that we had to adopt, the new shoreline zoning regulations, designated floodplains for rivers as RP districts, or resource protection districts. And since that floodplain area was shown to cover that parking lot, and since parking lots are defined as structures in DEP's regulations, that they would not be permitted. Both the code enforcement officer and I had grave suspicions about the data that the map was using, considering it was paying no attention to contours at all. And within 10 feet, the flood was at 40 feet and then at 30 feet. It made no sense whatsoever. It did not follow the contours of the plan. And so we went to the paper map, which is the official map. And the official map that's designated in our version of Chapter 1000, our shoreline zoning, So the GIS map that we had seemed to differ significantly with the paper map, and we jettisoned the GIS map. However, it is close enough to be a concern. We think there's more than enough distance, but the board would need verification of where that 100-year floodplain actually is on this particular site. And so our recommendation is that the applicant's surveyor, locate that line, because that's critical. Because if it does go into the area that you're going to have parking, the state's not going to let you do it. You'd have to redesign and move it. So that was critical. That was item number one. Item number two is that this also is a SO district, shoreline overlay district, 250 feet from the rivers, the high water mark of the river. That's not the floodplain, but the normal high water mark. We did measurements of that as well and found out that the parking lot was in fact in the SO district. However, we did craft our regulations with a couple of caveats, and one of which was in the CCS district, where we have an SO district that's outside of the 100-foot setback from the resource, those uses apply. So there's no change. The SO does not affect that. The thing that we do have to verify is that the parking lot is in fact 100 feet from the resource. Now, looking at the GIS system, which now is suspect, but at least the aerials and the lot lines are reasonable. I think that if we plot that 100-foot line, it's easy to see that it will be outside of that 100-foot setback. So we think that issue's taken care of. But the firm map really needs to be plotted on that. The shoreline overlay 100-foot should be just established. You had mentioned gravel parking surface, and I don't think I mentioned this to White when we talked. Unfortunately, gravel parking lots are only permitted for seasonal uses that are only open from April 1st to October 31st, I believe. And every other parking lot that's commercial has to be paved with 2 inches of bituminous. And so that's going to change, of course, what your pro forma is for that. I would also recommend that you put in another handicap space, because your handicap space is actually on Adrian's land. So, or let's put it this way, the number of parking spots that you're going to have are perilously close to what is required under Title III to have 2 parking spaces. So you might consider where you might want to put another handicap space that's within 75 feet of the entrance. We need to know if there's going to be any parking, lighting in the parking, any area lighting in the parking. We'll also need, because you're going to be grading that close to the floodplain and to the resource, you're going to need to give us a grading plan, because we're going to have to fill, obviously, cut and fill in that area. We're going to need that grading plan, and with that, a stormwater management plan on how you're going to handle the stormwater from that. Your engineer should be able to take care of that. With that comes along a sediment erosion control plan. That's the DEP and we require. Landscape plan for buffering purposes, I'm not sure it's going to really apply, but you might want to look at that. I can go over that with your engineer. I think you're going to have more than adequate buffering. Obviously, to the river, that's not an issue, but it's the other property, which is vacant at this point. I'm not sure there's going to. If the cut and fill it goes, as I imagine it would be, the parking might actually be below the elevation of the land in that area if they do a balancing cut.
The amount of fill is not a trip a DEP permit.
Well, it's not going to be in the resource, so no. And it's a small parking lot, it's only 10 spaces.
I know that adjacent parking, or adjacent property is usually vacant at this time of the year until the overflow from the playhouse is being utilized. That's normal. That's more seasonal than anything else.
Okay, you mean the property to the north?
To the south.
South.
Okay, I'm not worried about the south, I'm more worried about the north.
It's a field.
Well, that's what the requirement is, Mike. I think that actually the building buffers the parking lot from Adrian Grant's property. It's actually up and behind, and I think basically, that's what I mean.
That's
We'd have
fine.
to
She
check.
may be able to get a glimpse of one edge of it.
She might, yeah, but it's not, and that's why I think I want to go over it with her, if you make any changes on the alignment with your engineer. But we have that 10-foot buffering that we have in the CCS district. right now.
Because I remember when that building was proposed, and between the two owners, it was, some of it was being shared, and everything had met the requirements along the way. And also too, as we've been through some of this 100-year floodplain and everything else, they've determined through FEMA or whoever draws these plans up, that it was totally inaccurate.
Yeah, that was the new one. We kicked back to the old one, the paper map, as I said. That is actually the 72, the 86, and
Now you're using ours, which our ordinance said that we can use. And that's
I'm using the paper copy that's referenced in our shoreline zoning
Okay.
ordinance.
But
It
is
does not
that-
reference our GIS one, it references the paper FEMA map.
Yes, but isn't that the same one, Turner?
No, that's not the one that's in question.
No, it's the one in Turner when this particular property was developed on. Isn't that the same one that was used to allow that to be located there in the question of the shoreline zoning and everything else?
Well, I think at the, I think
That's where I'm coming from.
Well, I understand that, and what I'm saying is I think that they still need to verify where that line is, because this is, they're not expanding they're not expanding the building, but they are putting parking, which is considered to be a structure by DEP and by our shoreline zoning regulations. And it's in the back and extends in the back where it does drop down. And so that's why I want to make sure that we do have, that we know where that line is. So number one, we do shoreline zoning correctly in this situation, and they don't get in hot water with DEP at some later date. I don't want Chris Copey sneaking around saying, no offense to Chris, but he's a good enforcement officer, saying, what, wait a minute, this is in the floodplain. So we want to verify where the legal floodplain that governs state mandated shoreline zoning is on that property.
Because that's our ability.
Because,
So yeah, I'm not asking for a Lomar here.
yeah,
That's
because,
governed by feet away from the body
No,
of
it
water,
isn't.
or is it?
Well, I think it will be from this
Property.
standpoint. It will be, it's a 1,000 scale map. So, there's a lot of fluff in it, but it is by feet. It could be by elevation. Now, there's an elevation citation on that map. We saw it 39 at the bridge. And that's gonna decrease as we go downstream, obviously. And there's a good drop in there anyways. So 39 contour on that property is, it's probably gonna be the highest point that it's gonna come in. But your surveyor should be able to do that. He can do that laterally from the map.
Okay.
It's gonna have a lot of fluff in it because, you know, when you've got a 1,000 scale map, and, you know, it's, there's a lot of potential error in that. So it could be either that, either just scale it off that map, or take that elevation 39, whichever one he feels more comfortable with. Okay. Actually, whichever one is most beneficial to him.
I have a question that, what if, even the most beneficial one shows that the parking lot would be
gray area.
in that? Can it be challenged at all? No, because it is quite a drop.
Yeah.
I think you need a 500-year flood.
Well, yes, actually, yeah, I was wrong. You can. You're right. The applicant could, in fact, file for a Lomar, which is basically a change of the FEMA map. But it's extremely expensive.
And it's gonna
It
take.
takes a while. It takes a while. It's expensive. The results are not always guaranteed. It's like anything dealing with the federal government.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, I've dealt with Lomars, we've had Lomars done in town. Actually, a lot of people are having to do it these days because of the banks. You know, if you have floodplain on your property, they're almost demanding Lomars. He does have recourse, and that would be to go to a higher technical level, in proving that the floodplain is not there. But as you know, as you stated, there's a rather significant topographic relief between that building and where the parking lot is and where the presumed floodplain is, and it's
Then it
just.
rises up again.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, it does, yeah.
because,
And actually, then it comes around, and then you've got an inlet, more or less, it goes, you have a swale that comes in, and that would make sense if the floodplain would go up that swale, but it doesn't according to the GIS map, so.
because I wonder, may I ask a question? because when it was originally being proposed, for, they had it, the old diagrams, I remember Tom and I were there then, turned out that they originally wanted to put more parking in at the time, and it was discouraged to do so. So, I mean, it possibly so.
Because of the floodplain?
No. It was discouraged because they didn't need it.
They were
Even though they were allowed it, but they
They
were
were shooting
needed.
for the minimum, that used to be the standard.
Yes, because
Things can
Oh, okay.
that's why I'm asking you possibly to look or thought of some of the old plans that might have been there because it showed scale of it.
Yeah, I have some of the old plans, but they're.
I'm just throwing it back.
Hand-drawn stuff for you. to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
I'm just
They
saying.
weren't technical plans,
Okay,
okay? There was no real grading done, there wasn't a stormwater plan that was
Okay.
done for it.
all right, just as a thought, everything was,
If this does get approved, and we put that in, would we also then be able to put parking spaces along the side of the building where it's already paved, because there's a turnaround beyond it?
How would you want to do that parking? Would that be parallel parking or angle parking?
It would be parallel.
Yeah, you could do that, as long as you can make the dimensions. Dimensions are a 10-foot wide parking space in parallel parking, 10 by 20 spaces. With it, but you need a 24-foot,
travel.
24-foot travel way.
Okay.
So that might
So
be a lot, and if that's 34.
It's about
feet,
90 feet, so maybe 3.
You might be able to get that, yeah.
Or,
This is Elizabeth, by the way.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi.
Welcome, we're glad you made it. On the comments that were made, did any of the board have any comments to those? I'll recap, Elizabeth, for you some of the things in your discussions with the town planner hadn't come up, apparently. And the board not having any, I think this is kind of pretty straightforward, and it probably looks a little overwhelming. However, a lot of this stuff is pretty standard. The shoreland zoning and that floodplain identifying that boundary line. Your surveyor, they do that all the time. Same with the shoreland overlay zone, the 100 feet, they can take care of both of those pretty easy. Probably the biggest impact that you weren't planning on is having to put in that 2 inches of bituminous on the parking area, and it's because of the district that you're in, and you would have to comply with that 762. Ted had talked, I think, while you were here, Elizabeth, the identification of one additional handicap parking within 75 feet. And then the grading stormwater management plan, sediment erosion plan, and there's a question if landscape plan is really going to be needed. You need to just look at those, and those can get done pretty easy. So I think with these items and this thing, unless you have other questions or
Just one. So
whatever you need.
3 handicap spaces total,
No, I think you only got to need 2.
because there's 2 there now.
Are there 2 now?
Two in the front.
There's one in front of the building, and then there's one on the side that abuts 8 property.
Yeah, for my own,
As long as we have 2.
We have 2 there now.
But, the problem is one of those parking spaces, I remember one of them was on acres.
yeah, that was my question. We can't count spaces on somebody else's property.
they were showing, they
Unless-
were shared.
Well,
They are shared.
The line actually goes right through the center of the spaces, the property
Uh-huh.
line, so they're deeded to her. But there's 2 in front, it really doesn't matter which spaces she's taking. There's a total of 8
okay.
on that side.
Do you have rights to that parking?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
because
Wait,
this is something when we went through on this along the way, it was specifically said it was shared. Remember?
But
I remember that, but was it with the previous owner? Or
No,
is that,
it was
is
with-
that transferred?
That was with
It
Adrian.
is,
Adrian
it
and
is
the other-
deeded, but I'm just,
Yeah, no,
If you had
now
two,
for yours, your side as well as the town.
if you had two spaces, that would be fine.
Adrian had that in the glass.
So,
Came in it, that's how they set it up. Because it was a-
Any
I
other-
don't get used very much, it's almost like.
Well, just to clarify,
Yeah.
just really what we need to do is have a surveyor, and I'll go over what we discussed tonight with him, and then we'll be able to proceed.
You probably need an engineer too, so.
Engineer as well.
Yeah. The surveyor can't do that storm.
there's-
Surveyors
yeah.
don't like doing grading, they certainly don't like doing stormwater. I shouldn't say they don't, they're not allowed to by state law.
Unless they understand.
Unless they're engineers.
And we.
This is the president of the state association. He will dispute it with me.
So, board wanna take a site walk and look at this so that when we get the plans, you know exactly what we're looking at, you know, if you're comfortable with stuff.
What's the? Probably
Feeling
sure,
it.
because this is a tricky site, being right in the shoreline with protection. Can we do it before meeting, 2 weeks?
Also, too, you want the butter there, so it's the case. Adrian. That way she doesn't feel she's left out. She's back in town, so.
Yeah, she knows.
No, I'm just- I'm
Yeah,
just-
no, she knows it, so it'd be great. She's well aware of it, because I talked to her about it.
I'm just.
Yeah.
When the sidewalk notifications will go out to all the abutters.
Yeah.
So we
So
need,
she'll get notification, you guys probably wanna talk to her as well.
Where did that one come from?
What?
We don't do site plan.
Oh, you don't?
No,
You don't do notification to the abutters?
No, only public hearing ones,
Only the public hearing.
unless you want to increase your fees.
We've always had them in there at sidewalk.
They're notified on the bulletin
solar
board and on
energy.
the town website.
Okay.
Their notices are posted.
Yeah.
That was a question that came up when we did the solar panels about notifying butters. And you said no.
We notify them during public hearings,
Yeah.
for public hearings, but not for site.
Exactly.
The thing is, that it gets confusing is because we usually have our sidewalks the same night as the public hearing, if you recall.
Yeah, we always
That's
used to do that, we do the sidewalk at the public hearing and decide on all the things that were identified.
This wouldn't need a public hearing, though, would it?
Yes.
Just for,
Yes.
It's plenary site plan. It's 18, I mean, it's 10 parking spaces.
So you need at least 2 weeks to do the public hearing, right?
You
Well,
don't
it
have
depends on how,
application.
the question
No,
is.
I know that.
But if you
But
want
I just want that, I mean, they're moving into trying to get moving and
Yes.
so there's gonna be a delay when you get back. Try to get this on the agenda, so you wanna be thinking about that and try to get that scheduled.
so we need to fill out the rest of,
The application form.
Yeah.
But he has to also get a hold of his surveyor and
Yeah.
engineer. at the
He's gotta
same time.
submit.
I think we should wait until after that's done before we do a sidewalk.
Okay.
well, he'll be out there next week, because he already has been out there. It's the same guy that drew it up originally,
Okay.
and he kind of drew that parking lot for us, so.
So as soon as you have all of the documents, or Ted has all the documents, you'll get it right back before us. And
Excellent.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Usually we do sketch plan to have a site plan during the sketch plan process, just to see if there's anything else that the applicant needs to include in their application. It won't keep them from doing, their engineer from doing the work, but you can go out there and see if there's anything that raises alarms before they spend too much money. You know, that's why they're going with this process, of going through the sketch plan rather than just submitting a complete application. It's the opposite of what we were doing in North Chapel Common, where they came in with a complete plan the first time. Lucians are coming in with a
Prelim, but
prelim, yeah.
good idea, good plan for business.
So if we wanted to do it in 2 weeks, we could, or we could do it next week. You
This
have
side-
a 15-minute public hearing next week.
You're talking, you're talking.
You have enough time.
We're talking just the sidewalks.
We're talking just the sidewalk, not the public hearing.
How's the board feel? I think
I would like to make it next week.
Yeah, I think next week, meeting.
Well, we need 4 for the public
I'll be here
hearing.
next week.
Greg said he'd be here, pretty much on. Okay, so of those that are
If I
gonna
know
be,
what's going on, I can be there.
okay, try to have a public hearing, so typically those don't go very
Do
long.
we have enough time to public hearing, or just do the sidewalk?
We'll do the sidewalk, do the sidewalk, come
Public
to the
hearing.
public hearing and be done. We're not gonna add other business, so.
The public hearing meeting next week is not for this.
No, it's not for
application.
this.
And that's why you're getting confused here.
Yes, that's right.
No, it's nothing.
I was gonna say, we didn't have enough time for that, double public hearing.
Yeah.
Well, no, remember, this is the public hearing on the changes to estate lots.
Yeah, okay.
14-day notification, remember?
Yeah.
Do that.
Would the board like to move to schedule this or
Well,
propose it?
is the applicant gonna have time to get it flagged out like next week? So that we know, what's where and where the boundaries are,
I think so, yeah. We're talking about Thursday?
Yeah, next Thursday.
Can I get back to you on that?
Well, we have to set the date now,
Okay.
if we're gonna set a date, so it's either gonna
If
be,
that's too soon, then we'll just postpone
I mean,
it. It's up to you.
we're just trying to accommodate, but if
Sure.
you'd rather wait, no problem
I
as
think,
far as.
yeah, I think we'd be better off waiting. I don't want to waste your time, so.
Let me know, and then I'll tell the chairman, and we can schedule the sidewalk appointment. Okay?
Great, thank you.
Okay. You guys all set?
We are.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to proposed revisions to the land use ordinance. Are the folks that are here today, are you here for the Gateway District or the Downtown Business District? Is that why you're here?
Why are they?
Okay.
I'm here for proposed revisions, land use.
Okay, good. So that's what we're getting into right away. So, one, the Gateway District, as John pointed out at the last meeting, when we first were considering doing that gateway in the area, the board had decided that we might want to wait until we got the results from this contract to see if that was mentioned. Then in discussion, we decided we'd like to go ahead and have something ready in any case, or to determine if this is something that we wanted to do. We did ask the planner to bring in some graphs and plots and show us where the properties were, what would be, could be affected. I'm going to turn it over to you, Ted.
Okay. And so we'll move this forward a little bit. Despite new cartridges, despite new cleaning, I'm still having problems with my quad. So I apologize for vertical lines, but at least it shows what's annoying. Essentially, the district that we're talking about, the whole concept of the Gateway District came about with a question that a lot of people had asked me. I'm sure many other people have asked themselves, where's the Arundeltown line? When you're coming south on Route 1 from Biddeford, you never really do know where when you enter Arundel. It's very difficult to tell. In fact, if you're paying attention, you'll finally see the Arundel sign, welcome to Arundel sign, an official town sign. And it's on the other side of the railroad tracks, it's over the bridge. Ironically, everybody assumes that the bridge is the boundary line, when in fact the bridge is not the boundary line. The boundary line, actually, sorry, you can't see this very well, but the boundary line is before the bridge. It's a couple hundred feet before the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And there are, and you wouldn't know that, the area is commercial, and I would say the area is in a commercial state where it is sort of like the end of the line kind of commercial appearance in Biddeford. When we come into Arundel, there's no announcement that you're in Arundel, there's no knowledge that you're in Arundel, and actually people don't know they're in Arundel probably until they get to campground. Or if they see that small sign that we have. The concern was that property owners, and we had one property owner, in fact, the Nothing New Antiques, had approached both this board and the Economic Development Commission with a concern that she felt that this area had been abandoned by Arundel, and that it was affecting business and the property values in that particular area. The area was not being maintained well. The roadway was not particularly picturesque. Businesses, there wasn't a strong identity or an attempt to create an identity in that area that either supported the existing businesses or announced the arrival in Arundel. And the board had recognized this, I think, once before when we first discussed it. You kicked it over to the EDC. The EDC went out and did a site walk out there, by the way, and proceeded to come up with some ideas for doing some streetscape improvements in that particular area to reinforce it. But I think everybody agreed that one of the problems with the area also was that it just wasn't conducive to the kind of zoning that we're talking about, that it currently has. It's business industrial district. This is heavy manufacturing, heavy business district. And that is the type of business that it is zoned for. And quite frankly, both the lots, the land, the orientation of the road are not really well suited for that. The lots are small. There are, no offense, but you don't have a huge lot. You don't have a 30-acre lot. You're going to get a big, huge industry on it. Actually, the existing built pattern out there is such that it really is better suited for something like we're trying to do in the DB1 district. To create some character to say, hey, you're in Arundel. And we've gotten a lot of support from some of the property owners who would like to see us encourage that kind of image. We certainly help them with their properties, help them with the sale or the development of the properties, the financing of improvements for their properties. And so the question that you had asked was, where is the area we're specifically talking about? How big of an area? You had already decided that you didn't want to do a separate district, that you felt that the DB1 district has all the ingredients that need to be in that particular area that would make it a unique area. So it would be a DB1 as a gateway area instead of having a separate zone as a gateway. The areas that are proposed, it's easier to see on this map here. The area proposed, this is Biddeford town line, right? Biddeford Arundel town line here. This corridor here is the railroad. Boston and Maine, Guilford, and whatever you want to call it. That's the corridor. Active freight line, that's also the line in which the passenger rail, the Down Easter, goes through as well. So it's an active freight line. The bridge, as we all know, goes over those railroad tracks. And upon landing on the other side, you come to the split, the Y intersection between Old Post Road here and continuation of Route 1. Another interesting thing in here is that we also have Proctor Road, which doesn't really show up well on this map. But Proctor Road basically comes in right here before maybe about 150 feet, 200, no, actually
more than that.
300 feet from the boundary. And goes, basically stays on the same elevation while Route 1 rises up over. So there's quite an embankment here that separates Proctor Road from Route 1. And in fact, any properties in here are separated from Route 1 by topography, by the embankment. Proctor Road comes down and makes a dog leg and proceeds in this area. Right now, we only have really one business in this portion of Proctor Road, and that's a garage area right over here, successful garage. And then we turn the corner here, and we have pretty much Proctor Road is pretty much residential right now up to about this point right here. And that's about 1,000 feet from Route 1. As we know, the Old Post Road is within the BI district. Route 1 is in the BI district. And if we're looking at how we can create this small district, it would have to be pretty much oriented to Route 1. With the same kind of intent that we had with the DB1 on Route 1, where the focus will be on Route 1, and will be smaller, allowing smaller lots, some closer development, creating more of a character area. And it's not that huge of an area, so it would be from the boundary. We have the Mills property, which is right here. That's a relatively big open space right now. We have Nothing New Antiques right here, which is a former carriage and garage that's been, an old-time garage that's been rehabbed into an antique store. We have some residences here. We have a garage down in here. This is all unusable because of the topography. I should say, I don't mean unusable, it's not accessible for Route 1. And then when we land on the other side of the bridge, then we have the small church here, we have Coastal Car here, we have that problematic triangle right now that is was the tattoo parlor and has actually been purchased by Champagne, Propane at this point. Or is in sales, I think the P&S on it right now. They're looking to make their office right there. So, and then we start moving over, over into, we get down to County Connections down here, and then we start moving into the more intense kind of land uses. And we also have access to the back lands.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, right after the bridge for the car, there are two houses right there.
Right.
Okay, but also two, that was the access to the property, which you says is unusable.
No, I said inaccessible from Route 1 in this area.
Okay, because that's where, at one time or another, Wood Structures
Yep.
was trying to go. And then from the town line to about the bridge, okay, you should have about 1,000 feet. I mean,
Yeah, it's pretty good size.
Yep.
because you
It's a
should have
huge
about, you should, I mean, for relative distance,
But
because you have,
you'll notice that it's not the district that we're talking about that's outlined, and this is just the proposal on it, is outlined in green here, does not go across the railroad track.
no, I'm not saying that, I'm talking about Route 1 side, the distance from the town line to the bridge. Because then also, because after the antique place, there are 3 other small spots.
Well, let's see, we've got the Mills property
Yeah.
right here,
Antique,
and then this
That's
piece is
swamp.
actually a part of, that, yes, you're right, this one. And it's part of actually the fill area here for this complex up here.
yeah, that's run
Right here, and you can see that it's already developed for that particular use right now. It's already it's.
But you got a swamp right there, you got the cattails right there
you got-
at the town
This is
line.
all pretty swampy, right all in through here. And there's really no more real development potential for this outside of rehabbing this particular area for another use. This is pretty much committed to the kind of use it is right now, or similar uses. And frankly speaking, we've got a stream in here, we've got a USGS identified stream, so you're not gonna do any filling in here.
That's what I'm saying.
So this parcel here really doesn't have a tremendous amount of future development capability, and that's why I excluded it from that.
Yeah.
Kept it included in the BI district. Okay?
But I'm just saying that you're around from the town line to the bottom of the bridge on Route 1.
Yep.
It should be about 1,000 feet.
Yep.
Because there was, after the antique place, there is another little complex in there, which has 3,
Yeah, there is a business in there. There's
Huh?
one-
Isn't it kind of a long building?
Yeah,
actually?
Yes.
the one, it's right here, it's a long building right
Yeah,
here.
it used to actually be a big hole, and
They
they,
pulled it in.
That's yours?
Nope, no,
Thanks to
Rex.
Rich's.
Rags to riches,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's right, it's Rich's.
Can you
That's
see
right,
the
it's
map,
right
sir?
there.
Would you like to come up?
I'm familiar with that.
Oh, okay.
Evidently, he's got to see through me, or he's got to. Yeah, these are all small scale operations.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what's gonna work in there, but the idea is to continue to see that kind of, a smaller scale kind of development and smaller lots. If somebody wanted to subdivide these out, they could. Because right now, it's 2-acre lots. DB would be 1-acre lots, so you could subdivide, you could get, let's say you could get 2 lots right out here, for business purposes. You can get it on probably another one.
It's pushing an acre right there,
Yeah,
pushing
I
an
don't
acre.
think I can get it there.
But I mean, it's a lot,
But I can, look at this.
yeah,
Now, we do have some real physical constraints out there.
yes.
It's all pretty much swimming.
And you checked that
There's some also-
outside of your green lines?
Yes, I did.
Any reason why?
The reason why is because its development potential is extremely limited. It's actually in the shoreline zoning area. Yeah, it's
It's
swamp.
swamp.
Actually, it's emergent marsh.
Okay, now that's all wet back there.
Yeah,
But this whole area back here
Yeah.
is all part of a very large, complex emergent.
But it's
shoreline
runs into
zone.
Bedford, it's
It's
Bedford
tough.
It
drainage.
goes all the way to the.
Tough to make it residential either.
It's very hard. It's not to say it can't be done, but it's really, you can see we've got some islands here. Now, I mean, we can extend it back in there if you wanted to, but I just didn't include it.
Depending on what
because of
property
the-
owner wants. prefer.
Where does the property lines drop?
Property line goes all the way back here. See, I was gonna pull it into the residential.
Well, because when Mr. Mills was here last time,
Yeah, he's on the other side though.
no, I understand that, but he was mentioning that, a butter across the street.
Yeah, I actually went and spoke with Chris, and I don't know his last name, married Ember Pelletier, whose dad owned the property.
This one
Across
right.
the street. It's a, kind of looks like a trailer, it's actually a house.
Yeah.
It's red and rectangle.
Yeah, it's a mobile home there, yeah.
No, it's a house.
Which one?
I've done a lot of work on it.
Oh, no, wasn't it at one time?
No, everybody thinks it is, but it's actually a wood structure on a frost wall with a crawl space.
Okay,
Which
okay.
they said, I know I've been under there too many times fixing stuff.
Stand corrected.
And he reported to me, I thought they had like 3 acres over there, because I actually used to live there, it used to be my ex-mother-in-law's, as well as the one that they filled the hole in. Once upon a time, it was all her father's and all bed out. And Chris says that they have 1.8 acres over there, and I thought he had 3. Because I really thought the line went, and I remember looking at the tax lot map, and it had all these other lots that I don't really see that they are real, because there's nobody there. But it goes from that same gully that runs across on the side of Trojan,
Oh, right there.
and then that Rundle office is on the other side, which is where the town line is, which is where that little sliver in the top left by the green outline thing over here, which shows 30 feet frontage here, which I guess he owns,
Yeah.
Carl Dana's owns.
Yeah, so the lot actually, the lot is one lot that goes between Bedford and.
Right, I thought I was right on the line, but maybe not. But it is, it's a gully, and there's not a whole lot you can do.
That's the Little River.
And in the house, this is the house here, and this is Trojan, right?
Yep.
That actually, I always thought that went right down to the corner of Property Road. And I don't know if I'm wrong about that or not, but you should go Property Road here.
Yeah, it's quite correct.
Yeah, it comes out, so this is like where it comes out, and you
Yep.
see that's all part of that. So I don't know if he's wrong in what he has there.
Well, I think this is actually part of I can't, this is from my tax map, so I don't know, they combine both town right of way and state right of way together, because they're only doing taxable property.
Right.
So they don't make the distinction between where the town right of way marries into the state right of way, where Route 1 and these two, that's not included, but this is all basically road right of way through here, all the way up here, so, I don't think
Which means what? It means that.
it means he doesn't have a connection to Proctor, at least going down this way. He might have one in the back, I don't know, but.
Right, but I'm just saying the space itself, if you look at where Proctor Road comes out, and this is where it comes onto Route 1.
Yeah.
I always thought that this is kind of a grassy area, here's the house, and then all the way over here. Well, if you look at where I'm at, You know, it's pretty equal in size. Mine goes deeper, there's not as deep, but there's about 300 plus frontage on this side, there's gonna be more on that side.
I would
That's all one.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they will benefit from that, if they know what they have there, because it's, you know, recent inheritance and all that, so.
So it sounds like, I don't hear any opposition to changing this. Sounds like a good idea for everybody. Both property owners, you'd like to see the change from what we've heard from you.
Are you located on there, somewhere?
You're on Park Road.
You want to show us where, or what? Maybe make comment, your
He's in the
position.
BI district.
Okay. Yeah, it's right, it's right the hook.
There I am.
Yep.
Where's it
Right there on the
Because
curve, just before the curve.
He's in the BI district.
So there's
But he's on the other side of the
This
bridge.
proposal doesn't change what.
Nothing.
No, that's not gonna, he's gonna still be in the BI district. I mean, if we wanna start looking at some of this area here as being residential instead of BI, I mean, we can, but we do have existing businesses there. We have one business down here that is in the BI, and we have another business that's a non-conforming use.
He's all the way down.
Is all the way down, it's on all the way down here. So he would be under effect. I mean, for all intents and purposes, really, the Proctor Road is not an industrial area. It is
It's all residential. I
Pretty much
think
residential.
that was a mistake. It's almost all
No,
residential.
we also have a dog kennel thing down there.
It's a mix, but
Yes,
it's not like it's gonna be a lot of industry moving down there. I think
No,
it's
there's nothing
more
down there at all.
residential.
But if that's currently zoned BI down there,
Mhm.
they can't put in more residential, can they?
Yes, they do.
No.
No, that's what you were in a month ago for.
Right.
Yeah,
That's one of the problems that we have.
yeah.
And, you know, we're saying that there's not that good access, so.
But the other factor is, to know the property down there, okay, you have a lot of limitations of what you can do.
Yeah.
Because unless you walked and looked it, you might as well bring your wading boots with you, okay? On the Proctor Road site, that's where I'm getting at, okay? Except for where your place is, you're up higher.
Well,
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
you're right.
he's higher, so he doesn't have the wetlands through there.
Well, we got clay all down.
No, yeah,
there,
but I mean-
So that doesn't help any.
But if there could be development, it would be easier to put residential.
Residential when they're not.
It's easier to put a house in there.
Well, you wouldn't be able to see it, because we have no benefit of seeing a business from there.
Right, there's that, and then parking and
Which-
everything else.
On the Proctor Road.
On the Proctor Road.
That's where I'm going at, not where Mikey is.
Yeah, the Proctor Road's kinda hidden down
That's-
way in there, but.
You know, it's buried underneath the bridge.
Well, but they do have some, I think Packard's been pretty successful with his garage, he's done a really nice job, fixing it up. I know Tracy's down there a little bit further on the
Way down.
opposite side.
And then you also have the dog kennel.
Mechanical stuff.
And then you have the dog kennel place down through there.
Right. So I just want to kind of comment a little bit more on where I'm at. This is nothing new with the antiques here. I got a lot of frontage and actually if I can find it over here, I'm over here, right?
Yeah, right here.
Very flat, very wide open up front. The gully and the wetlands come, I think it actually shows this is kind of wetlands, although it's not that much. It's more on this back corner over here. It's certainly swamp, you're not gonna get anything with that. And, the terrain as it comes back drops down on the back side, so it's a little bit less attractive to develop unless they're gonna let somebody bring a bunch of fill. Which I actually tried to get some fill brought in when they were doing, Walmart. It was put by the code enforcement officer, they could not. It was all going Well, I didn't count limited, and what can I do? I mean, right now, currently, from what I know, I got 3.7 acres. The requirement is 2 with 200 foot of frontage, so in essence, I can't do anything else. Code enforcement tells me that if I want to put a new building in there, then I gotta tear something down. If I wanna add on, I know some of that too, that you can add on 50% of the size of what you have there. I have a mobile home there that's probably not worth a whole lot, I'm renting it out currently. Working on the house, that's really not worth a whole lot. There's no real viable area to add on 50%. So, for me personally, I'm kind of stuck. I would like to, I'd love to see some kind of business. I'd like to be able to subdivide it. I may be able to sell a lot and then actually do something with my side. If the curb appeal grant money was available, I think that would attract people. I could foresee I gave some suggestions last time, some kind of agricultural, greenhouse, selling plants and bark mulch and loom and so on and so forth. I mean, it's a pretty good spot for somebody who has the money and the wherewithal to be able to develop it. And I think they could,
We're dealing with very similar down the whole length of where we're trying to do this very thing.
on the other end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you in favor of this, opposed to it, want expanded, shortened?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm new to this discussion
Yeah.
about this district.
It-
How would this
This-
affect my land?
This doesn't change it at all. That's
It doesn't
what's ironic.
change yours at all.
I think we should look at how to
How
resolve
would it,
all issues here.
how would it affect Patrick's land?
I don't
Where
know.
on that? Do you know where that's located?
Mike Patrick's.
No, where my property's located? Yeah, number one.
You're on Route 1, are you right beside the antiques place?
Exactly.
Yep.
Which is pretty far away from where Mike's at. He's down on the corner somewhere.
No. But did you say that extended to Patrick's garage?
Yep.
And how does that affect him?
No. It doesn't extend, it doesn't.
Yeah,
No.
it's not going down Proctor, is it?
Yeah.
No.
Well, you guys tell me.
The upper end of Proctor.
The upper end of Proctor Road, it does.
I don't know where this guy's places they're talking about. so it's-
This is, I was actually talking about the property across the street, and what I was saying is, as far as I know, the property line is on one side of the
It
road,
seemed like it would be beneficial.
and his other line is on the edge of the property. Mike's back, Mike's way back here, so you can't even go to another.
Well, I'm just wondering how, if he lands into that change, if that, Mike and I are good friends,
Yeah, I know Mike pretty
and
well.
he's not here, so I want to make sure of that.
Where is his place in relation to your house?
With the garage?
He's
He's,
the first
he's,
place just before me.
he's actually at the first bed before the second bed. That's the easiest way to describe it.
Yeah, because it's kind of a.
Bed one, bed two.
If
Like
we
a
look
big
at
S.
this, if we look at this green map over here, it would help. It shows Packard Road where the red is on this other map.
The lot is labeled.
The white one.
Packard's Garage.
Okay, so he would be in it?
The right of way lines throw it off, that's what it is.
I guess I'm a little confused with some of what you're saying too. Is that, you proposing that that's gonna be part of it as well?
That's
No.
still DB1.
Yeah, it sounded like you guys weren't looking at changing what's on the Proctor Road at all.
You know, what I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm with the whole board on this, but there's a lot of constraints that on both your properties, and anybody else who wants to make a change. If you're on the B and I, which is
Useless down there.
it's no residential, no small scale, there's a whole bunch of restrictions that you're stuck with, you know that.
Right.
And so I'd like to see it so that we can get some more residential, since it already is, and for where you are, it allows the smaller
Smaller
business
business.
development, rather than putting a factory there, that will never happen.
Right,
It just
right.
won't work.
Well, yeah, and as you know, some of the things that kind of detract from this area, because it is in Arundel, is there is no sewerage.
Well, and that's a bigger issue that
Right.
we can't fix with this.
No lights either.
But at the same time, there are a few businesses that are already there, and so we have to make sure that they're not gonna have a negative impact by whatever we change. So we,
It sounds like Linda Constoff is for this pad, right?
Yeah, she's very much in favor. I called her to see if she would be making, I didn't hook up with her, so. But she was at the earlier meeting, she was an advocate as well, just like you were, of doing something to improve this neighborhood, to make it more attractive for the property owners, and to get some reinvestment by the town into it. So-
You know, you're looking at smaller type of businesses, especially where you got the sewer issue. I recently put a new leach field in, for the residents that are there, a 6-bedroom, which was a lot of fun with it. She was my helper.
Great for a whole
And
summer.
I do have, city water through Kenny Pump that's on the lot as well. I have a well that's not being used, yeah, I mean, should
Yeah,
have.
at least you got pressure now.
Let's try to stay to this,
Yep.
like all the work you're doing, but let's stay to the project, I guess, and the district. I think, what I'm hearing, I think I agree kind of with what Tom's saying. I think as a concept, this being DB1 in this area, I think the whole board is kind of in favor of this and exactly where the lines are. I think we're pretty comfortable with where you have them. The other part of the business industrial though, on that Proctor side, it would seem like would be more advantageous to the folks that own down there to be more in an R3 or an R2 or something. I mean, to give them some flexibility as well, and it would look like there'd be a potential for growth. I mean, there's no, other than another small business, which is kind of frowned upon in the VI, there's nothing else that can go in down there.
It's extremely limited by two factors. Number one, high water table, and lot size, basically. And frankly, exposure too.
Well,
Exposure is
access,
a big problem.
access is the biggest thing, because,
But exposure.
but your property, okay, he comes off the Proctor Road, okay, and then right there is no right-of-way running along the railroad tracks, per se, to the next abutting property, because that is all in the resource protection zone. I mean, and that whole area was shut off.
John, you have any comments?
Well, as I'm listening to all of this, I'm thinking if we really want to develop it as a gateway district,
Gotta make it look
sort of
pretty.
showing off the entrance to Arundel, instead of slapping on a DB1 or whatever, at this point, why don't we invite the people there, kind of really get creative and make us an offer? You know, if you can come up with an idea, a viable idea that maybe works on half-acre lots, let's hear it and let's see if it works. And then if we find something or a combination of things that work, we could either design a district around it or it might fit into an existing district. But there are so many constraints. If we want to do something, you're going to have to get very creative about it. And, you know, slapping a district into place doesn't necessarily encourage
Name don't mean
creativity.
everything.
Right, John, but if nothing's done and it stays the way it is, it's just useless.
Well,
You kind of stay.
True, but before we actually, go ahead and do something, if you or maybe some of the other neighbors have some really good ideas or could really brainstorm and come up with something that would really work there, maybe or maybe it won't fit into that district, but let's talk about that before we, go ahead and put a district on it.
Label it.
Right.
Well, there's two.
I mean, that's my thought on it.
Yeah, and I understand that. Right now, it's the VI, it's the larger lots.
Yeah,
It's
right
not
now
gonna
you
do-
can't do anything.
Yeah,
right?
you can't do anything, so we're kind of in this catch. I think we're in the catch for that, we're in the catch for the other area as well. There's no stipulation, right, I mean, they could come in with 100 ideas, and there's no way to move on any ideas unless you identify a district and reduce,
Well,
the constraints. And
Right.
at least this reduces some of the constraints, and
Could I-
it's a starting point.
but
I would
what,
think.
my point is, I agree with the redistricting. I don't necessarily think we should be determining what the definition of that district is until we've heard some feedback from residents. Because we may get some really good ideas that may be just perfect there, and maybe wouldn't be allowed in DB1.
Be a good place for the town hall.
Yes?
You come to,
Well, they won't like it because of the train tracks.
Watch rain.
You get used to
train
it,
station
and then we're gonna go right down the line.
It's not really safe.
Can I ask another,
I
one
like
question?
that.
We're gonna go through the board first, and then I'll get you guys started this process.
first thing, there are two things to say. One is, I think we need to fix a problem that we didn't really fully see at the time. We just, went the B&I from one point all the way to Bedford, and that was a mistake. And so we need to figure out a way to fix that, and, because it's not fair that you property owners are really tied down. And the other thing is, you need to be aware that this can't happen quick, it has to go through probably a full year before it gets to the voters, next town meeting, which is over a year from now.
I
Yeah, so
Yeah,
just,
that's
it's not gonna be
the-
quick. Nothing happens.
So we have,
15
yeah,
minutes.
well, we have plenty of time to be looking and considering and
Okay.
saying, hey, but we wanna have our ducks in a row. Anything else?
I've been through the area, and the businesses that are in that area do fit the DB1 description that we're already doing. I think trying to come up with another small district in a very small place, just be not necessary, because it already fits DB1 so well. As for getting the people's opinion of it, I'm all for getting the people's opinion, but this has been on the agenda for the planning board. This is where the people come to express those ideas, and 3 people have showed up. So, to say, well, let's put it out there, We put the agenda out there, and 3 people came. So, I think we've put it out there to the people, and now we have to do our due diligence and, look and see what's best for that area and for the town in general. And I think the DB1 fits that area.
Yeah, I gotta agree with him, I think the DB1 fits that area.
Any other comments? Yeah.
I agree with Greg. I think the DB1 fits this area. I dislike John's idea because we keep talking about how we want to simplify the zoning ordinance and make it easier to find stuff. I don't want to go through the process of creating a whole little micro zone to identify one particular neighborhood, because then what's to prevent the people down on Campground Road from saying, oh, well, we have a special, unique kind of a neighborhood and we need to have it zoned. But I think we've crafted what I think is a very good ordinance for DB1, and I think it would fit. I'm only curious about where, on the green, with the green lines, where does the Proctor Road make that sharp turn? Can you show me? Because I don't understand.
Sharp turn?
Yeah.
Which
When
one?
you come off,
The
you,
school.
no, you make that first one and you come down and you get right close to the railroad tracks and makes a sharp left. And I think
So
that
that's right
would
here,
be,
the sharp left is right here.
I think that would be a good spot to break the DB1, bring it down to that point. It abuts the railroad tracks right there.
Yeah, the problem is there's no access, I mean, really, you can see this part of, the only reason, and I'm even debating in my mind whether this line should be over here. And only because, very simply put, there's an elevational difference between Packard's garage and the roadway.
There is, there's a
You
huge
look
difference.
down on it. In fact, you wouldn't know the Packard's garage is there as you're driving by,
Unless you're looking for it.
unless you're looking, well, even if you aren't, it's gonna be tough, because you're on the far side of Route 1, if you're coming from Biddeford going south.
The advantage
It's easier
nowadays
from
is that you've got
northbound.
GPS and you'll be able to find it.
Sure.
But I do think it would be better to break it right there at that curve. You're not gonna see it from the roadway, yes, that's true. But it will help, you know, maybe somebody will have some kind of an art studio that they wanna put in there that's kind of restricted, and they're just gonna be directing people to that area.
You'd be taking that one lot and putting it in two different zones.
I think you can see it from the overpass a little bit.
Okay, so if I follow Rich and what you were saying, Ted, on the line that you were considering that property in, does that not come all the way right down? He followed that line right down, brought the road right down where you were thinking about.
Rich is talking about going all the way, taking this, maybe even doing this.
No, take your line where you were thinking about going
I mean,
and bring that right down to the curve. So the curve, now go right up your line, no, up the line where you were proposing it.
We're having fun now.
Come on, let's get the ground pencils out.
I have the thin one, I have the thin one, so.
No, I don't have to, I don't have to,
It doesn't
but
fit
this is where the sharp curve will be. And this
You
is
can see
where,
it right here.
yeah, and where,
That's it right there.
and where Rich and those here were saying, that this ought to come down here, and what you're saying, this ought to come in here. Well, both of which, that line then does become, hits both of your ideas, right?
But this property will no longer, this property will be part of this. Which would be, is that BI, or is that going to be residential?
Well, that's the next question, but, I mean, right now, we're trying to deal with one. That will have as much discussion on the other side as we're trying to have on this side.
Couldn't we put a train toll in there?
That's what I said, train station.
Train
Yes,
toll.
yes.
I'll split with you.
Right? If you get them to stop, they'll split it.
So I'm gonna stand in front of
No, they don't have to
ST-70 that's
They can
doing
use
60
easy
miles
pass.
an hour.
Yes.
Question for you. Where you have it under the BI district right now,
Yeah.
okay? The BI district has no concept of where the railroad tracks are, or the wetlands are, or anything else down there.
How so? When you say it has no concept, what do you mean?
Well,
Not
Wait,
very
wait.
close to it?
if I'm correct in my thoughts here, if that is the BI district, the BI district extends from either side of that, how deep?
1,000 feet from Route 1.
Okay. For what Mr. Mills' property is, okay, would be the northern side, going on the northern side, his property depth is actually, for usefulness, stops before the railroad tracks.
Yeah, although
Sorry.
on that side, it goes all the way to the on the west side of Route 1, the BI district goes all the way to the Unitil line. So
Okay.
it goes to the old Eastern Rail line, or the Eastern Trail.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, for accessibility for businesses along Route 1, okay, and by the size of lot restrictions, totally acreage on the western side,
Yeah.
okay, you couldn't put anything
Couldn't put
heavy,
anything, that's what we were saying.
anything heavily industrial in there.
Exactly.
So by just throwing a name on it as a BI district,
Then we were wrong, that's what Don said.
that's what I'm trying to say is, because it's useless otherwise for heavy duty.
I think we're all in agreement on that.
Given the lot size, you know, what you're saying, Marty, is correct. Given the lot sizes, given the existing development pattern, given the constraints on these properties, if you don't have light, you have wetland, and there's an incredible amount of wetlands out there. it limits its potential.
The only
That
good
it
thing
should
it
be
has,
geared more towards smaller development, rather than
Smaller
trying to
businesses,
deal
if you've
with
got-
larger development. It should be dealing with smaller development or residential.
the only good thing it has now, okay, is besides being on Route 1, at least it has water pressure. That's the only thing it has.
And frankly speaking, there is sewer on the other side of the border.
Yeah, but how are you gonna hook up to it? You can't unless there's something there. It's like looking in your pocket and wishing.
Well, Marty, you fought for water for 15 years, you finally got it.
But I haven't got my lights yet.
Let's start with either the sewer or the lights thing. You had another comment you wanted to.
Yeah, I was, basically, just kind of following up with what you guys said, that it's already there, where I'm at. And let me find me again. We got, nothing doing antiques right here.
Yep.
What's the lot size there?
Oh, I can't
That's kind of what I'm saying.
It's less than an acre. Is it
Yeah,
about
this
this
one
close?
right here,
Yeah, they're all too small.
that's kind of my point.
Yeah.
Is-
I think
I
there's
know
two,
sometimes one side is different from the other
yeah,
side.
there's two or three in there that probably make.
Well, as we heard, as Bob heard from the folks in the, yeah, you were the only one, yeah. Down in the Townhouse Corner District, one of the deficits sometimes of our zoning that we don't realize, and it's a new development of zoning, right, it's a new development of financing, is that businesses that have been on lots forever, and because of zoning, they're relabeled as non-conforming, those businesses are suffering severe financial hardship because they can't get financing from expansions, business expansions, physical expansions, because the banks hate that term, non-conforming. So one of the things that we really want to try to do is basically ensure that our zoning doesn't put a lot of existing businesses into that kind of jeopardy. And that we do recognize that our zoning should fit some of the financial realities of the day and what we can expect in the future. This isn't going to go away, this is going to get worse.
Final comment?
Well, I agree with that, and we really have to be concerned with that, but then you have the balance outweighing in the residential properties there that are restricted from doing anything. We can't solve it all, I don't know what to do with it without, you try to fix some problems and others spring up, and it's a tough problem. I think we all agree, if I could just need to put something, I think we all agree that green zone would make sense. But we haven't really talked about what about the rest of Proctor Road? What happens there?
Good question.
Yeah, that does seem to be outside of what would be considered DB1. So right now, we're doing DB1. When we get to the BI, we still have to do our review of BI.
Yeah.
So that, when we hit the BI district as a board and we're looking at it, we should specifically call out that area and look and bring it, just like we have ahead for, I don't know, 3 or 4 meetings at the beginning, these last 2 or 3 meetings. So, I mean, there's a lot of work to do when we get there, and that might be the best time for you to come back and provide comments as well.
Well, what we could also do is like we did in the CCS district, is we could send out postcards next time we meet, and make sure that we have a Chalk Talk public workshop with the neighborhood after we've come up with some ideas.
Yeah.
And in that way, we'll have a better chance of getting more than 3 people. I think we got 18 last at the CCS one.
Yeah, but right there in that district, right there.
We have very few people.
Yeah, I mean, you got 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 landowners. That's all you got.
Well, probably more than that.
How do you figure?
Going on the other side of the bridge.
Right.
No, you got Packard, because Packard runs into,
On the south side too.
well, you got 1, 2, 3. Okay, because you got Mike, you have the antique, and then the other place. That's 3 on that side. The people who own the red place is 4, and Packard is 5.
But
That's all there is.
That's all the north side of the railroad track. You've got a half a dozen of them on the south side.
Yeah, if you go over the overpass.
That's right. You've got the church, you're gonna have Champagne's, if he buys the tattoo parlor, you've got Coastal Auto.
Yeah, but that's where you can start,
But that's part of this district that we're looking at, Marty.
that's where the mistake is.
So you're saying we should only go from the railroad track north?
I'm saying you can't include that area as super development for the BI district because you're land restricted.
We're not talking about the
Marty,
BI.
we're talking about including in the DB1, everything inside of the green line. Everything inside, both to the north and to the south of the bridge,
What district?
DB1.
It's not even existing yet.
That's what we're
That's what
talking
we're
about. We wanna
trying
make
to
it that way.
do. Get it out of the BI into the DB1 or something similar and say, hey, everything that's on the inside, that's what the discussion has been about. So I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a prelim. I mean, we have fairly good, and we'll have even better after we finish tonight, hopefully, because we do have to move on, an idea of what the DB1 is going to be. And once we kind of have that, that would be a good time to invite everybody if they want to for one, and we can say, hey, this is what we're looking at, and they could have the whole tentative ordinance.
We're looking for ideas.
Yeah.
A couple more questions. This also includes Bedard, who is on the other side of the overpass. If we're heading towards Arundel on the right-hand side, there's actually
2
there's
houses.
a house, a couple stories, and there's the White House. He's got a garage there, and then on the back side, I think there's another house and another garage. That's part of that too.
Yeah. Everything that you see inside is the green.
So I'm just wondering, because I'd be more than glad to go over there and.
Oh, well, the town should approach them too.
Okay.
But, I mean, you can in your area talk your point and what we're considering, that's fine. The more people we get at these that are, and then obviously that town meeting is the critical part. But I think the idea has been well received. I think most of the board seems to be in consensus that it's a relatively good fit. We can use as a template until decisions are made to kind of fashion this for a presentation, kind of very similar to the DB1 for the current time. Is that fair, you think? Okay. All right. Again, I'd like to thank you. You're welcome to stay. We're going to now go into some of the particulars of what we've looked at in this area. Yep, that's it.
I don't know if it was on the agenda or not, but. What's that?
Well, the
Definitions?
The definitions.
Yeah, review those. Yeah, wasn't that on the agenda?
Yeah, they're there.
It's part of
Right.
it.
Oh, it's pertaining to DB1 and DB2, so
Yeah.
technically you have to.
Yeah, as we move into DB2, we'll look at.
Around for the rest of the fun?
I'm sorry?
No. No, I appreciate your time and.
Thank you for
Did you
coming.
get your walk wheel?
Huh?
Did you take your walk wheel, figure out the distance?
Figure out the distance.
Yeah, your frontage.
I got a contact registry of these, about 335 feet.
Take a walk wheel, figure it out first. And see how close it is to actually the town line.
Well, the
Before
tax
the swamp
lot,
holes.
the tax lot map is not accurate. It's 335 and it's not. 'Cause I'd
See
be-
where it is. Take the walk line.
Good morning, Mike. John, I'll come back with more ideas.
All right, good.
Take care, guys.
Train
Okay,
station.
good.
And if they would let us have one, they really won't.
Okay, so as we move into we're finished with the Gateway District for tonight, and moving into DB2, so we'll go over the DB1 and DB2 definitions first. You have 2 artist and craftsman studio definitions.
I have thrown in a couple of additional definitions in here. I focused on the ones that were the most problematic for the board. And one of the things that I wanted to do was, in some cases, ask for your opinion of, do you like the red curtains or the blue curtains? So, okay, we could do that too. What I did is I went down the list of permitted uses we were talking about in the, and conditional, that we were talking about in the DB2 district, because there was some confusion the last couple of times about what is an artisan craftsman shop? What is a low impact manufacturing? These definitions are really important because what we're trying to do is establish what kinds of uses we want to see in the DB2 district that are complementary to the DB1, that provide for more business development opportunities that are not going to be incompatible with what we're trying to do in the DB1 district. Things that will exist behind it effectively, provide a lot more opportunities for not only business development, but services and products to be available to Arundel residents and to tourists. That currently, frankly, we just don't have that. We don't encourage that kind of cheering and that kind of variety in our current CCS ordinance. CCS ordinance is good. It's just we're trying to capitalize again on this particular, the unique characteristics of this area, which has a lot more developable land than we have up in the BI district. And so we needed to clarify what we mean by certain things. And I think the last time there was a confusion between you folks and me over what is a low impact manufacturing, what is an artisan craftsman studio. So I got the gist of where you wanted to go with low impact and where you wanted to go with artisan and craftsman. So I came up with two different definitions for artisan craftsman and see which one fits what you're looking at and versus what I was thinking. Some other ones that just, I'll go over this pretty quickly before we go into specifics. Other ones that you had concerns about were making separations between what's a medical facility and what's a congregate care facility. Remember that was a question you had. What's a congregate care facility? What's lodging? What's the difference between lodging, motels, inns, and so forth? Clarify what lodging is. Clarify, and I also threw in some definitions for motels, bed and breakfasts, boarding houses, because we make some distinctions in other districts between those kinds of lodging. Also, recreational facility. Remember, we had some issues with what's a recreational facility. What's also the other one was what's a school. We had a lot of debate over school because we make some real distinctions in the current ordinance between a non-profit school and a for-profit school. And we make that distinction, and I'm not sure why. And I think the board asked that question. Why do we make that distinction between a for-profit school and a non-profit school? How do we make those definitions? Should they be combined or should they? Frankly, I provided one that combined them. Veterinary hospital was another one, and medical facilities. And I made a proposal in here that, and criticized me on, rightly so, but anyway.
Oh, good, you didn't criticize.
Which time?
I don't know what you're talking about.
What?
10, 14?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not that. It's 10. It's 10. It used to be 14. All right, it's the opposite. I think I put it 14. That's a big goal. The thing that I had proposed is, remember how we're trying to make things easier for people to find instantly? And in looking at the list of permitted uses, notice that you have to kind of really work your way through it to figure out. If I'm looking for...
Oh, shit.
No, exactly. If
I'm
looking,
sorry, folks.
no, it's true. If I'm looking, I'm trying to put in, I'm trying to figure out what I am. I'm going to do some warehousing and I'm going to do some tooling. What am I? Well, you've got to go through this whole long list of different definitions to figure out who you are. So in some cases, I had proposed that instead of putting personal services at the bottom of the alphabetical list, retail sales and, at the very bottom, or warehousing at the very bottom, and then you gotta look at office and it's up here, and, why not just call them all business, and then dash with the classification, so when you've got a business, a typical business use, you can find them all in the top part of the definitions, or in the top part of the permitted uses as business, personal use, business, retail services, business, commercial service. You can fit yourself into there very quickly at the top of the list, without having to go through all of those.
Well, you're still gonna have to go through it, because then every item comes under business. Business, business auto repair, business, bed and breakfast, business.
Well,
personal
that's
It's in a business
commercial.
district.
Alphabetical.
Huh?
Alphabetical.
Especially if it's in a business district, it's gonna be business.
All right, fine.
Just
So
put-
Andrew,
Hey,
It's a business
Hey,
district, just put business
Personal property tax.
What you
I
could
thought-
do is put the more common ones at the top.
that's not alphabetical.
We have to keep it alphabetical.
You have to.
It's the alphabet, I think.
See, I
If
don't-
Ian says we gotta keep alphabetical, we
That's-
gotta keep
I'm
alphabetical.
bucking the
I don't know why
tide.
you came up with this idea.
I don't know why.
Those common uses at the
Just
top.
slap me around,
Be
okay?
consistent.
We'll take the business off, I'm sorry, guys.
See, I don't have a problem just listing out the three: business, personal service, business, retail sales, or business, commercial service. We all know what they are, and unless we want to start saying that you can't do something specific, then I don't see where that's not a problem. Like in here, it's, business, retail sales, but not an automobile service station, garden center, farm stand, or restaurant. So it's pretty much anything else that's business retail would fit in there. I don't see where that's a big problem, even though somebody would try to sell medical marijuana out of the place. I still don't, because it's a retail operation.
That's actually agriculture.
No, because they're not growing it there, they're just selling it there.
No, they're growing it and selling.
It's a farm market.
It's a farm stand.
Farmer's market.
Okay, there you go.
Come on, Marty, it's farm retail.
I think it's a good idea because you provide a grouping, a top level grouping.
Right.
And so they're all in one place. To me, it makes sense. You still have a list to go through, but the list is a lot shorter. And it's all in one place.
Now, one good question. Just because it's not listed, does that mean you can't have it?
Yep.
As we've always had it before in this town?
Omitted uses, if it ain't listed, you can't do it. But that's why we have some broad categories too. I'm not gonna say clothing stores versus medical marijuana.
Both retail
Besides, you
sales.
folks have said you don't care about medical marijuana. If somebody wants to sell it, that's retail.
Well, what we.
They're already allowed.
Yeah, but I think what we said was, that
So
the
it's
selectmen
fireworks.
weren't taking a position on it, so we weren't taking a position.
Roger that. Sorry.
Okay. So what happens to all of the other definitions in the book?
Well, this will supersede the ones in the book that are similar to it. I mean, instead of paging through all the book while we were discussing this, you asked me to put these definitions that were relating to the DB1 and DB2 on one page, so you can examine them.
Okay.
They will go back into the definition section in alphabetical order.
Okay.
Okay?
The question that,
No top level, it's all alphabetical.
yeah, the question, the real question that I still have though is, these are crafted, and the wording that I used to, this is crafted for the DB1, DB2, as a business. And we have this other definition that's already in there that kind of applies to the other businesses, CCS, and commercial shop. So this doesn't replace the other one, this is an add-on.
Shouldn't it just be one set of definitions?
Right, no, you
It's
can't
one set
have,
of definitions.
So that heading at the top maybe is a little misleading.
yeah.
Well, there's different, I mean, we have approached this very specifically for what businesses did we want in the front along the DB1?
Right.
What did we want in the rear? We did the same thing when we looked at the kinds of mixed use and residential that we had in community commercial, south community commercial, nor,
Would that conflict with the other zones?
well, if you're gonna put this into the definition box, this would become the definition for all the other zones.
Which
Right, what's wrong with that?
Well, we haven't looked at it and how it applies to the other zones. We've looked at this specifically for how it applies to DB1 and DB2.
Just because we have a definition doesn't mean it will be allowed in the
Right.
other zone.
Right.
Right?
We're just defining what it is, we're not defining what it's gonna be.
Yeah, you got it already as B1 and B2.
No,
Scratch that.
We can take that, it's easy, that can come off.
Yeah, gentlemen, this is not going into the B1, B2.
This is
Section.
our use.
This is for your use, because when you were going over the uses in DB2, you were asking, what does this mean? You know, what is a recreational facility? What is a school? What do you mean? Because that's not our current definition, and that's not the definition we want to use. What do we mean by congregate care? So I put this all together, this is just for your use. These will be incorporated into this, section 3 definition.
I think the wording regarding DB1, DB2, just strike that out, and everybody should be comfortable with the word definitions.
Yeah, I still think there's a review that needs to be done. I'll look at this definition as compared to the other and make sure that we're not.
No, he said some of them would supersede.
Some supersede some of the same ones that exist.
We have to
Some of our definitions are
Well,
fine.
you wanna know what you're approving?
Well, we just got there, so we're not, we still have to go through it.
Yeah, and I compare it to the other. Okay. So we ought to, as a tool for the board right now, as we're discussing for DB1 and DB2, we can use these as the definitions as we're considering DB1 and DB2. And when we get to the definition part of the ordinance, then we can look and see if there's a shift. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Downtown Business District 2, use and design standards.
So we don't want to go over these things.
Well, I thought these were the ones that we're gonna use. You just said these are the ones.
Well,
that are-
what I write is okay with you, fine with me.
Yeah, but which ones? Do we have?
Yeah, I
think we gotta go through these.
I think so too,
Still have to.
because, I mean, you've already established what you want for your permitted uses. That's pretty much what you've already done. Your problem last time, if I'm not mistaken, and I think it was in the minutes, wasn't it, that what you wanted to do was go over the definitions?
Not the last meeting, the prior meeting.
The prior meeting.
Yeah, you wanted clarification on some of the definitions, so Tad wrote them all up
That we
for
were,
your review.
yes, that we were using for DB1, DB2.
Right.
Okay.
If I look at this then, business commercial, the business, starting at business on the first page, down to business commercial, all of those appear to be exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Except that in here it says business service, and you have added the word business commercial.
Correct. They're the same thing.
And
They were.
auto
Why
repair
change
and
it?
automobile service are exactly the same.
Well, we changed that before, we changed that
Yep.
last.
The only thing I don't see, I guess we have to decide on the artist and craftsman studio.
Yeah, artists and craftsmen, congregate care, drive-through facilities, health club, health services, low-impact resin, manufacturing, medical facilities, lodging, recreational facility passive, schools.
Okay, let's take them one at a time.
Yeah,
Okay, artists and craftsmen.
I'm baffled by the two definitions.
No.
It's artist and craftsman, artist or craftsman.
Yeah,
Excuse me, it could be either, it's artists and craftsmen.
part of what it's saying right there between, part of the big difference is a mandate that you have to be open to the public by appointment. That's the biggest difference about the two of them. They're basically doing the same thing, but you're mandating that you have to have
Must be.
periodically open to the public. It's like what you try to do with Kate's.
When we had the Rundle stained glass place, whatever, the wind chimes, were they open to the public, or were they?
Yeah, they were open to the public, but they weren't mandated.
You're right. What if they weren't, what if they didn't want to have a little retail?
How can you be a business and not be open to the public?
Yeah.
Because you could be doing mail order, or you could be.
Wholesale.
Well, then you're
Wholesale.
wholesale or retail, you're not an artist craftsman studio.
Yeah, you
You're a
still
wholesale.
recall what your product, what you're making into the product.
You're making the product on the site. What an artisan craftsman studio really is it's if you really look at it, it is a place where an artist can make his product. He's basically doing manufacturing. He's doing low-level manufacturing. He's got materials on the site that aren't traditionally kept in retail locations, retail or even wholesale. He's got raw materials on the site. He's got lumber. Let's think of Dagtone. Here's a good example right now. Dagtone, the custom lumber guy.
Former Seaglass.
It's former Seaglass, and on Limerick Road, right next to Solar Center.
Yeah.
He's got material on site, keeps it in the barn, keeps his lumber in the barn. He has what was the Seaglass Auditorium, that's his workshop. In the front part of it, he's got a little display area where he shows off some of his stuff. Now, his main job there is to produce custom woodworking for people, whether it be cabinets, whether it be furniture, whether it be whatever. That's what he does. He keeps the materials on site, and the public can wander in and see what his work is, or make an appointment or whatever. It covers a broad range of things: retail, manufacturing,
Well, how about just-
wholesale. It's all in one thing, and it's kind of unique. He can sell on site. He doesn't necessarily have to sell on site. He can have retail, or he doesn't necessarily have to have retail. It's up to you, gentlemen, because you have the artisan craftsman in the DB1 district.
Now, just to throw a question out, artisan craftsman, anybody who knits is artisan craft because you're making something,
That could
a
be.
raw material.
Yeah, that could be.
Potterer.
How about just
Welder,
Welder?
an art studio? They're not making the painting, they're bringing in paintings from other people and displaying them.
Retail.
not always.
They're thinking of a gallery.
Galleries and that.
Galleries is a showcase, but
That's
I
a
mean,
retail. I would consider that retail, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You're selling there?
Okay.
you have some artists that turn out, goes in and it's like going to the office every day, okay? And he decides he's gonna play with this painting today because he's creative or in the mood to work on something, and a different one on another one. I mean, he's still being creative, but he also is showing his product that he has along the way, that it's already been a finished product. Go ahead, Nick.
On the subject of whether or not they're open to the public, whether by appointment, mandate, periodic, I think it's to our benefit to try and get business and promote businesses that are open to the public. But getting the public to a downtown district is the way you get people downtown. You have businesses that are close to the public, and the public doesn't go there. So I think that the definition of an artisan craftsman studio should include that they're open to the public, at least periodically.
And I agree with you, but then how do you define, do we say that you have to be open from 1 to 5? Do we start saying when you have, or how many hours a year defines being open to the public?
How did you define case?
Quarter.
As an educational facility, we give them a quarterly period of time.
Yeah, we're mixing apples and oranges
Yeah.
when you go to Cape. That was a whole redistricting of the whole zone. It's a
So
whole-
is this,
I understand that, but it's the same sort of concept. It's, their primary thing is not to be a gallery. Their primary operation is to be a manufacturing, an agricultural manufacturing operation. That's what they do.
That's right.
And I think that speaks to.
And that's what an artisan craftsman studio really, it's giving you the opportunity of saying you can be in this basically this kind of retail district area and be a manufacturing operation. It's saying that we want you to do that kind of work. We want you to be a potter. If you're a potter, we don't want you in the industrial park. We want you up front here. because that contributes to the character of our community. So people can walk in and see your potter's ware, hey, we got a potter over here who's doing this in front. And you can store stuff, and you can manufacture on site, and you can store material on site. And you can even have classes. I mean, that's another thing, a big thing. These guys all, in any of the arts these days, you have to be able to do everything, including teach people how to do this stuff in order to make it right.
Yeah, I don't think it's putting much onus on these people to do that. They're show people to begin with.
Yeah, they want to get public in anyways, yeah.
But to the potter who does want to close the door and just sit behind a closed door and make pottery, then if he's down in the industrial park, who cares?
Well, but this is pretty, it's unrestricted. It says, must be open to the public, but either by appointment or another.
Right.
Yeah, by appointment, it's like, yeah, if someone calls, I'll let them in. So, but they don't have to, so it might even be a little too lenient.
Let me see, I think it speaks to Greg's issue of, we want people
Yeah.
going downtown.
Yeah, I agree
And
with
if
that.
you're not open to the public, you're not gonna go downtown.
Yeah. And it's just another box that you don't know what's
Yeah.
in it. Yeah.
I mean, I'd get rid of the by appointment
Yeah.
part of it. but-
And on a periodic.
If everybody's open by appointment, it doesn't matter who you
Yeah.
are.
Must be open to the public and may engage in sales of goods on the site.
Yeah, that would work.
I like the rest of it.
I like the first definition better than the second.
Well, I like the second, the other part for freshmen including, may include, classes and demonstration. I guess that's in here
Maybe we
as
could
well.
add that in.
I mean, that's what I,
The first one.
Oh,
that
yeah,
part
it's
of number
added.
2 added to the first one would,
Merge the two
You fell
together.
into my trap, gentlemen.
wow.
His nefarious trap.
The trap was to create a synthesis.
Well, you should have done that to start with.
Well, I wanted to see which things you accept and which you don't. It's easier this way.
So,
So we're gonna get either by appointment and or on a periodic open studio basis.
If you're open to the public, okay,
That's our definition.
just if you're open to the public, you fulfill
Yeah.
all the terminology.
Yeah, we're-
Instead of saying, you just look,
I was just trying to make it so they didn't have to open from 9 to 5 every day. They didn't want to.
So may engage, well,
then they just do,
may engage in the sale of goods made on site
clock and
and may provide,
classes of
space for artists or craftspeople.
And I say may because, there are some places that have artists and craftsmen studio requirements that say you have to sell. Or you only can sell what you make on the site.
Don't want to do
I
that.
don't want to do that. First of all, it's not
Let's get a
enforceable,
business, let 'em-
number one, and number two,
Let them
We
thrive.
have another situation like on the lemons.
yeah, just let them do whatever, let them thrive.
So we're gonna kind of combine those two. Take
Okay.
them,
So what would it say?
take
Are
it,
you taking out the
take
goods
them
made
on,
on
we're gonna
site?
take out the either by appointment and or on a periodic open studio basis. So it's open to the public and may engage in the sale of goods made on site.
Do they have to be made on site?
Or, I guess we could take out made on,
May means they also could sell other things. Hell, it's retail.
now, if you got $100,000 painting from New York, you want to put it in there, you
Why
gonna
not?
say you can't sell it?
Why not?
and then the,
Doesn't say
I mean, you
can.
get a
Well, I
combination.
would say made on site, if it wasn't,
And I will
We're saying
tell you
they should be
honestly, we
able
have,
that's what I'm trying to say.
we have in a different district, but I have a person who's, I've been working with for a while now. She's bought a very expensive piece of property. She wants to go in there and she wants to have a gallery. Right now, she's a home occupation, which means she only can sell what she makes on the site, which is kind of where she has employees. So she has to state that the people who she shows are employees in order to get around that. And she's only limited to showing 2 other artists and herself as a result.
Arundel?
Yeah, and I wanna avoid that. That, okay, really do, because that's a real hamstring.
okay, we're going on 9.
Okay.
So the second, within the second paragraph, Then what we're gonna strike is a business or commercial establishment which provides, start a new sentence, working space for artists or craftspeople, including facilities for classes or demonstrations may also be provided. And then we can get rid of that activities may include sale of supplies and that, because we say sale of goods up above,
Good.
right?
Just take a part of it.
So we took the second part of the first sentence and put it at the end of it.
So say such establishment must be open to the public and may
Let
provide
me read it.
working space for artists or craftsmen, including facilities for classes or demonstrations. Is that correct?
Working space, yep, working space
Engage
for
in
artists or
sale of
craftspeople.
Oh, right.
Wait, I've heard several different things, yeah.
I'll read it from the beginning. An establishment engaged in the creation of fine art or craft objects, fine furniture, party or similar crafts, of which the creation typically requires special dexterity and artistic skill. Such an establishment must be open to the public, and may engage in the sale of goods. Working space for artists or craftspeople, including facilities for classes or demonstrations, may be provided. Correct?
Works for me.
Sure enough.
Okay. So next,
Okay, just one minor thing, you did, in the top one, you did stop at may engage in the sales of goods, you didn't include made on site, so we don't want that in there at all. Okay, that works for me.
everybody good with that?
Except, the reason why I brought that up, I'll continue with, is may engage in sale of goods, does that mean beer and cigarettes and soda? and chips?
How about related to the crafts?
That's good.
But then, if you're pottery, you sell pottery stuff. If you're a painter, you
Which
sell.
Yeah,
gets you back
but if you can't sell soda, because it's not related to the craft, you may have a soda machine there.
Why is that not secondary to the business? I mean, if you're selling more pottery than you are soda, then,
I'm just afraid
Everybody
that,
sells everything. You go to any
Yeah, I
place,
know.
they're just gonna eat.
You might have a
they
pipe
sell
bag
mints.
shop there,
They sell
and
mints.
it has
all right.
pipes, handmade pipes or something other there.
So the next question was under bed and breakfast establishments, making determination of no more than 10 or 14 rental units.
Yeah,
right?
we said 10. Should be 10. 14 is a bloody end. Anybody who, if you've got a bed and breakfast, I mean, 10 is about,
Yeah, max, 8, 6, 8.
6, 8 is usually what you get. 10 is more than generous. I don't know where the 14 came from. I think it's called a typo. It's called fat finger typing.
okay.
The 0 and the 4 is a whole different realm of
Anything
difference.
Yeah, they live in different
Thanks for
neighborhoods.
Anything else
Trying
on
to
page,
get by this, you just have to.
anything else on page 1?
Well, how does it feel?
So how many are we going with?
Got done,
No,
what?
on
Ten.
what,
Yeah.
10? Okay.
Yeah, everybody's.
Marty, anything on garages or?
No, I have a question.
Don't matter, don't want to listen to it anyway, so.
I do have a question on page one.
Okay,
It's the boarding house.
okay.
Kind of
Any
confusing.
residential structure where lodging or meals are provided, shouldn't that just be any single residential structure?
No,
Because if you put up more than one building, you're not having a hotel, which is a completely separate situation.
no, a hotel, you have to have a lobby, if you remember correctly under the old definition.
Well, it could be a motel.
Wait a minute.
Because if you didn't have a front foyer, it wasn't it was the difference of a change of use.
Just say that again, Rich.
Well, I'm looking at this, it's a boarding house, it says, any residential structure where lodging and/or meals are provided. I could put up 3 or 4 buildings, all of which are boarding houses, all right next to each other. I don't think those are boarding houses, I think that becomes a hotel. It's my opinion, I think it becomes a hotel. I don't consider that, from a boarding house point of view.
Boarding house is usually in one building.
Yes, I agree, and I'm saying that.
So
the
that's what he's
definition
saying,
should say
a
it's one
singular
building.
residential structure.
Right, it should say that it's one building, not This
But they
will
can be
allow-
interconnected.
But what would be the difference then between that and a
Boarding
hotel
house.
suites?
A boarding house is basically, you get meals, or you have the option of a meal,
Okay,
okay? And
okay. Lots of hotels said that today.
we haven't got down to hotels yet.
No, but we're trying to do.
Boarding house, but turn out in the past, members of hotels and everything else, one had a foyer or a lobby and the other one didn't. This doesn't say this has a lobby.
What it is what distinguishes it is it's a residential structure versus a commercial structure.
The other thing too, you got it for a period of at least 1 week, it doesn't say how long it will stay.
Doesn't. Boarding houses are pretty much going the way of the dodo. And they're few and far between.
Yeah.
The only time I'm really seeing boarding houses anymore is quite frankly, I see it for lodging for migrant workers. When I say migrant workers, in Maine, kids who are brought over from other countries to work the summer traffic, from hotels, motels, and so forth.
But the hotels and motels are providing them a place to live to start with.
Usually it's a boarding house.
So I have a question, where do we want these to be in town? Yeah.
Well, as I say, it's like the same thing as what Adrian has, okay? Basically, the property next to her is a prop place for all her props and everything else for her.
That's like a boarding house.
Then basically, that's where all the actors and everything else stay.
But I don't think they're paying to stay there, which would not make it a boarding house. Boarding house is for compensation.
You may not get fed either.
The big
Yeah,
question,
that is-
you asked the question, you asked a legitimate question, Tom, I mean, where do you want this in town? Do we even want to even discuss this anymore? Is this an anachronism that needs to go away?
I think it does.
Yeah.
When I first saw it,
It's a good point.
The differentiation is between an overnight bed and breakfast and somebody that's in there for a longer term. I mean, that bed and breakfast home, if they were to take somebody for a longer period of time,
That becomes a boarding house.
that becomes a boarding.
And the question is, do you want boarding houses? Is there a problem created by boarding houses? There was a time there was a problem created by boarding houses. But, which is why we have them in all zoning definitions.
I would keep it in there. I would think for the couple of 2 or 3 reasons that were already, uses that were already mentioned here, if you take it out, then there may be a way to find that those are now not allowed. Because
Yes.
it doesn't say for profit or not for profit or.
it says for compensation.
Yeah, but guess what? What kind of compensation do you want?
You
wanna spell it out?
They're getting some compensation.
Yeah, that's exactly, and the same thing with the migrant workers or the foreign workers, it's the same sort of thing, where part of their pay goes into the boarding house that is owned by the hotel and the motel. And, frankly speaking, that's a problem that all resort communities have. I know that our has a
Do
tremendous.
we have
one.
boarding
These guys
houses
over here
approved in
have a
any
problem.
section?
Like anyone.
That's what I was wondering.
The question is, do you want that to be in the right?
Well, I mean, it's a definition, but do we have boarding houses in any of our land use tables? I don't think
Not
so.
yet.
Where did it come
If you put
from?
it in as a definition,
One
you've got to do
Had
something.
digged up.
You have to do, this is ours, this is the
was
Arundel
already in
one.
there.
This is the Arundel one. I threw this in there to remind you it exists. Also because somebody was gonna ask me, when I got down to the lodging
It says
definition,
boarding and
which
riding.
says specifically excludes boarding houses, well, what's a boarding house? So I decided to preempt you and put the boarding house in here, so you knew what the boarding house was.
Well, I can see college students
Oh, that's
living in a house, living in a boarding house.
But it's not, if they're living there and they live by rooms, I mean, how it's done is you live by rooms. You rent a room for a week or a month or a year or whatever.
So is a bed and breakfast.
Yep. No, it
Okay.
isn't. It's
The
short term, and
traditional
you only get
model-
you get a morning meal.
The traditional model is a room and that everybody eats at the same
At the
table.
same
Bed and breakfast, boarding house.
In the common living room area.
Exactly.
So on our land use table,
Yeah.
boarding houses with the bed and breakfast, it's bed and breakfast boarding house. And they're conditional.
Yep.
But
And-
question for you on that is,
And they're only R1, R2, R3, R4, and.
but they have, according to the comprehensive
There must be
plan,
one up there.
according to the comprehensive plan, you can't have that a business in the residential zone. So you're saying you have to move everything up to the business district to have it?
No, because it's by definition, it's a residential structure. And it is in the residential districts. I mean, we recognize boarding houses. What we're saying is that lodging facilities don't include boarding houses.
Yeah, okay.
We're making a distinction between lodging and boarding houses because lodging is a traditional, and we're including bed and breakfasts in lodgings because they're, frankly speaking, they're a very popular model. And they're considered to be on the same par as a motel or a hotel or an inn. I don't know what the difference is between an inn and a hotel, but
Size. I don't know, price.
price, yes.
Okay.
If it says inn,
It
you're
should
paying
be
double.
So, Rich, are you satisfied that it's just any residential structure? I mean, with lodging, or you still think we ought to say singular?
Well,
The boarding house, I mean,
it raises an interesting concept in that we allow them in the R1, 2, 3, 4, and BI, and we allow them in the R1, 2, 3, and 4 because it's a residential structure. Are we even gonna let that in the DB zone? It's a residential structure. It wouldn't even be allowed in the DB 1 or 2.
Right now, it's not allowed in the DB1
Right,
or the DB2.
Keep it out.
keep it up,
What?
because it's a residential structure.
What's the definition?
Okay, we can keep it out, but we still need a definition.
Exactly.
Need a definition.
We have the definition in
not
here.
allowed.
We have the definition in here, and it's fine if we leave it. I mean, if we say any residential structure or any single residential structure, that's fine. It just,
okay.
Again, the reason why I put it in there was to give you a definition of boarding house when you got the lodging and it says excluding boarding houses.
So this is a lot, it would be allowed all over town, R1, 2, 3, 4.
and the,
Well, it is
It
now.
is now.
It is now.
It is
That's a
now.
question you're gonna have to ask yourself whether or not you want that to continue. But right now, that's
I don't remember
permitted.
being in there, so I question whether
no,
we
we
wanted
don't
it.
even answer one.
Yeah, and especially,
I wasn't aware of it until somebody came and applied for one.
Is it one of my neighbors right next door to me?
No, it wasn't.
Because that's probably, everybody would have a reaction like, I want a boarding house right next door to me, but it's allowed.
It's permitted right now, as a conditional use. The only reason this application went no further was because it's owner occupied. It has to be owner
The owner
occupied.
occupied.
And that's where this was, basically, they wanted to house students. And said, terrific, who's living there? Who's living where with the students?
Who's the house mom?
Are you kidding me?
Who's the RA?
And they said, well then, sorry, I can't do it.
well, he could have just done it as a rental unit.
No, because they wanted to do it by bedroom. And you see, we don't allow rental units
I
by
got you.
bedroom.
I got you.
Only if
I
they're
got
in
you.
a lodging facility, being a boarding house or
I
an
got you.
inn or.
So what you do is you find one kid to rent the house, and then he sublets to a bunch of other people.
Basically, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So
you're not
that's- yeah.
sanctioning it.
So what districts would we not permit this in, or don't want to permit this in?
Well, right now, it's not permitted in the DB 1 and 2.
And I actually don't have a problem with that, because it says it's a residential structure.
Okay.
DB 1 and 2 are not residential.
The objective is to get higher end.
Well, who in R1, now let's be realistic, because Tom's got a good point.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic, who in R1 wants a boarding house next to them? Who in R2 wants a boarding house next to them?
That's why I was
Who in
asking.
R3?
No, but,
Maybe.
The multi-unit apartment,
Maybe.
I've lived in a boarding house.
Yeah, it's not permanent.
They're, not the demons people make.
No, they
them
aren't.
out to be.
No, they used to be.
But
Well,
we
no,
want
they
people
never,
everywhere.
actually, they never did. They never really were much of a demon thing. It's just that Tennessee
Tennessee Williams and a couple other people made them into demonic places.
Okay.
In their
It's
place.
been in the regulation forever. We've had one application where people didn't want to move in, live by it, so let's move on.
Move on.
Okay.
All right.
Alright.
All right,
Put it to
yeah,
bed.
so I'm glad that was
Yeah.
out. All right.
Yeah. We need, sorry.
Congregate care
But I agree
facility.
with you. Okay.
Type of medical facility, in which individual or family units have their private bedroom or living quarters, but share with other residents a common dining room, recreational facilities, and community facilities. Medical care can be provided in graduated levels ranging from periodic household maintenance and home health care to round-the-clock intensive medical care.
So we have Seal Rock, which
Oh,
basically has the inn and the nursing home attached to it.
It is boarding house.
Expensive one.
Expensive, very
It's a
expensive
suite,
boarding house.
it's a suite though.
Same thing as.
Yeah, basically,
common.
what it does is it allows, saying it's congregate care, it would also mean that you could have, the typical model for this, and I don't know if this model will continue into this next decade, but the model of the last 2 decades has been, as you said, Seal or Farragut or something else, or Atlantic House.
Huntington Commons.
Hunting, well, actually, there's another model in which you have this facility, and they have cottages. And you can live in the cottages, you and your wife can move in that cottage, and you might have some household help. They come in and help and make the beds in the morning, and they might come and help you with dinner at night. Or nothing at all. But then, as you become infirm, then they have the services right there to immediately respond to if you need home health care. You need some help with the household. Okay, I need help with my medication. And you keep graduating up with the level of care, eventually moving from that cottage into the main building, into the suite of rooms, or into the single room, depending if you're starting to get into Alzheimer's care or into hospice care. So it's all-inclusive medical and care facility with various types of, different types of care, versus a nursing home, which really is basically a one-bed, one-person situation. Now, they might have private rooms, but most nursing homes do not. Most nursing homes have one roommate living, basically.
You gotta go to Seal Rock. Half that place is private pay.
Then that's a high-end nursing home.
But it's
that's the
exactly the same
distinction.
way, because they're taking the cottages and selling them, and then when you sell out of the cottage, you move into Atlantic Heights,
That is congregate care.
which is congregate care, and when you move out of congregate care, they move you into the nursing home, and they got you from the day you sign up.
And when you leave there, you go to the radio.
That's right.
Yeah, it's,
You get a really small room at that point.
So,
Well,
it's Logan's Run.
I like that definition that you have.
Yeah, it's
so that
fine.
comes in.
Okay.
So it only shows up in DB2, and there is no nursing home in either one. The nursing home is different. You're saying you don't have nursing home in either one.
I could do nursing homes if you wanted to in DB2.
I think in order to make that work, you have to have nursing homes in there, because they're gonna wanna move them up the food chain to get.
Well, the congregate care is the food chain. It's basically from playing tennis to wheeling them out in a casket from the nursing home.
But they're gonna wanna move, right, from the nursing home.
But it's part of the complex.
Okay.
And that's what I was trying to write, where it includes all of those different types of housing types. I could improve
The
it.
difference, I think, though, between this, I'm not sure I agree with the round-the-clock intensive medical care, but that aside, I think the concept here is that the congregate care one is for people who want to maintain a little bit of independent living. They may need a little bit of help, and they want it close by. So they have the choice of cottages, they have the choice of rooms within a bigger facility, and so that's kind of income-based. That goes along with their medical and social development, if you will, at that age. When you get to the nursing home, so these people, for the big part, are us, that are at a stage that are saying, okay, I want to get out of the big house, we're going to get in a small one, and I'm going to make sure that we're taken care of. So they could participate in this DB1, DB2 area for a while. A nursing home, the people typically going into the nursing home come from all over the place. They're not residents of an area, and they won't be leaving that facility and going out and participating in businesses. They'll go out, they'll be discharged back to wherever they came from. So I'm not sure a nursing home would be appropriate because it's not building on that business base other than the building.
But it does, and that's the model that Todd is talking about. Tad, I'm sorry. That's the model.
Happens all the
The model is to now sell us a cottage. And part of the deal with selling us the cottage is that when you get to the point where you need assisted living, you live in a cottage all by yourself. When you need assisted living, then you're going into congregate care. There's really not a lot that takes place in the cottage. You go into the assisted care, and you've all got your own rooms, and but you come out together and you eat meals in a common area, almost a boarding house kind of a situation. But when you get to the point where you can't take care of yourself there, we will move you into the nursing home. That's what's springing up all over the place. And that's why I think of it.
And it's sold as a package.
I think of Seal Rock, which is what they did. My wife worked at it.
Yeah, I work directly with everyone in the area selling for, which was Southern Maine Health and Home Care
Right.
Services. So we put all of our clients, not all of them, but that needed to into these sorts of facilities. And again, you're talking models. And I agree that there is one that has all of it. And maybe they're moving that way now. I haven't been doing this for about 8 to 10 years. But the cottages where people live, they do get medication assistance, they do get transportation assistance, and they do get their food and their laundry, and all of those are things that they can't or don't want to have to bother with at this time. So when it comes time, a lot of them can move into the facility as long, but not to the point of intensive medical care.
Well, if you want to modify that and leave,
You know, I mean, they may need some around-the-clock attention, and maybe it's diabetic and whatever, but, I don't have, other than that one word in there, the intensive, and, you know, it can be to a higher level of medical service, and or they'll make those provisions to get them to an adequate nursing home or whatever, but usually they they're participants. Nursing home folks aren't.
Well, how about just from periodic household maintenance and home health care to medical care?
Yeah. Good morning.
Okay, so you want to get rid of the 24-hour. I was just trying to go to the opposite extreme.
If we don't have a problem with them affording the residents the intensive medical care, then I don't have a problem leaving it in the definition. Because if we take it out, then somebody will say, well, they're running a hospital there. That's intensive medical care. They're running a hospital.
Oh,
They
they
may
might
run
nursing home. Yeah, nursing home.
Yeah.
Because we have a different definition for hospital, and we have made a decision
Oh.
to use hospital.
I don't see where if this is what we don't have a problem with, then
Yeah.
I
I get.
I mean, you know, I understand what Bob's saying. He's basically saying that do you want nursing homes in the DB1, DB2 district, or you want?
not standalone there.
Not standalone, no.
And that's why I wanted to put it in the congregate care. Sure, you can have nursing home, but it's got to be part of a bigger complex.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe household maintenance, home health care to more nursing home type services?
Limited,
that.
you can say to
Huh?
healthcare to limited medical.
Well, I wouldn't want to call out a nursing home in the definition.
We do have a definition of
So
nursing home.
I don't,
Not in front of you.
not in congregate
Well,
care.
that's kind of what the 24-hour
Yeah.
intensive was.
And-
nursing home.
I
Yeah,
would
but you're
think
Bob
not
picked up on
calling
it
it a nursing
instantly.
That's
home.
I'm not calling it that, but Bob picked up on it instantly. He knows exactly what that is. But, you know, and that is a nursing home. We don't call it that, but that's what it is. But the statement was it was all inclusive in the one complex. And
Right.
this is where we're, you know, we were trying to allow that kind of facility, which would almost be like, it's a medical campus.
Okay.
That's an actual,
let's
they
just-
not permitted.
It's a very taxable medical
See,
campus.
that's the,
Clarify what it
if
is.
for no other reason,
Nursing home.
leaving the nursing home in there is because that's a very taxable situation.
All right.
So what am I supposed to do here?
Just leave it.
I'd leave it the way it is.
Leave it.
Okay.
Okay, what else do we have? Drive-through facilities, we already have that.
It's that part of the code we didn't hear.
Yeah, it's drive-through.
That's right. You
What
can drive-
Drive-through meds.
What this definition does though is open it up to banks.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
what, that's, okay, just so that we all understand, okay.
It
Just,
opens it up to McDonald's, it opens it up to banks.
you have an extra comma in there, any use in which,
Yeah.
get rid of
You
that.
put a comma after which.
Which,
Any use in which, comma,
I know.
Which?
Which was,
Okay, good, fine. Got it. Change it. Sorry. Health club, we didn't have a definition for health club. Do you know what we had health club under? Recreational facilities.
I guess some people go there for fun.
Not me. So I pulled it out because we do have it as a separate entity in the DB2 district. So I put it in health club.
DB2?
sounds good.
Health services, you know, I put in health services because, and we don't have it anywhere yet. But, you know, in going, and Bob, you should be able to speak to this especially since you've been in the profession. You know, I was just thinking, we've got medical facilities which include, you know, basically hospitals, nursing homes, physical rehabilitation facilities, hospices, those are all medical facilities. But then I'm thinking about things like blood banks and dental laboratories where they make, you know, dentures and oxygen producing, you know, an oxygen plant and so forth. And those are all health services, health-related services. That don't really fit into any good definition of manufacturing or wholesaling or business. And
see, that's a to me, those are all, they're all I don't know.
professional?
Professional, and it may, I don't know if it falls under our professional office, if we're having it medical, I think all of the related, I mean, you have everything now related from Reiki and massage and everything else in the holistic approach to the treatment of cancer. They're all being wrapped up and brought into the hospitals. And so what used to be little standalone things are more of that holistic approach to medical care. So how do you capture that in a thing? I mean, because all of those kinds of offices would be fine. Building the facility.
Well, I was thinking of a blood bank isn't an office, is it? What is a blood bank? Is that warehousing? What is a blood bank?
See,
Not that anybody's got too many standalones. I mean, Red Cross has that in their facilities. Hospitals have blood banks within their.
We have them within
the
blood
walls.
bank is for the storage of a product for use by a patient.
So what use would it be? Is it just it's not a personal service, it's not retail, they're not...
Yeah,
That's kind of why I created it.
and rather than having buildings and facilities providing medical diagnostics, buildings and facilities in which staff provide medical diagnostic treatment, rehabilitation, patient care person,
Which, where you looking at?
under medical facility.
Oh, last time you saw a building provide anything.
Yeah.
I know we're on health
Somebody I feel like I'm on an airplane.
I thought we
It's a
were on
hospital.
health service.
What's that? Well, it's a building with patients, but that's not important right now.
Well, see, that health services with the medical facility, it is, I mean, that's why in healthcare facilities is a little bit.
In which medical diagnostics is provided. Would that mean? We're jumping all over.
Yeah, I
Where are we?
know. I was on,
I was over in health services.
yeah.
You lost me.
Well, everybody liked health club, but they didn't like health services. Can we go back to health services just for a second, Bob? What do you think? You want it gone, or?
No, I think.
Do we need to make a distinction, or not? I just didn't want to find myself, you know, like put people who manufacture dentures under artisan craftsmen.
Yeah. No,
It is an art.
Dexterity.
It is an art to make that.
It is, but it's really,
And
it's
it's
not an
Open to the
art.
public.
It's not an art.
Their classes.
Yeah.
It's glasses too, yeah.
Well,
You know,
very,
glasses would be retail,
But not for
Well-
manufacturing. Sorry.
Who manufactures
I think,
glasses?
I think by being here though, when we get these oddball things that are outside a little bit, and then, I don't wanna call anybody oddball, but when we get a profession that's coming before us, that we haven't listed or hadn't grouped, it allows us to say, hey, you do follow your health service. This is obviously, you're providing help to either the staff member or to a patient. Your product goes to the hospital or it goes to a patient.
It's an ancillary support service.
Yeah, that's right. You know, all of the ultrasound facility, I mean, there can be a million of these different things,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, you wanna group them all under medical facilities then?
No, I'd keep them separate.
I keep them separate, yeah.
Yeah,
One is type of buildings, the other one
this
is,
service.
well,
You know what was throwing me off on the health services? To me, it would read better if you just started with the word establishments
Yeah.
providing support.
Yeah.
Okay,
Healthcare facilities seems like they're treating patients, but they're not really.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, healthcare facility, like you said, nursing home.
yeah, that's different.
Yeah, that would be medical facility.
Okay.
And, you know, if we could jump down to that, I mean, medical facility lumps all of it in there, clinics, hospitals, nursing homes.
And the difference between the medical facility and the health service is that health services, that may not be where the contact is with the patient or the hospital.
Right.
It may be maybe something for them. In the medical facility, what you term medical, inpatient or outpatient, that's where you meet, so it's provided there, the actual treatment, care, follow-up.
Is that read right? Buildings and facilities?
No,
No, it's not.
So how do we change it?
It says facilities in which medical diagnostics, treatment, rehabilitation, patient care to persons under is provided under the supervision.
the healthcare professionals.
Obviously, when I'm licensed in Maine, you know, I'm licensed in Nicaragua.
There's a difference.
And we've opened in this one to all of the other ones by limited to, but are including but not limited to.
Yes.
So
It's
I
a pretty
think we're
big
fine.
basket.
That was a good break.
Okay. You're okay with nursing homes being in there? See, Bob knows things about nursing homes. He's looking at it. Look at that facial expression. He's not
Are
happy.
we, but we're saying a nursing home in the DB two? I mean, that's what we're doing, right?
Yep. Nursing home.
I don't have a definition in here.
There is one in the,
In our, there is
in our definitions, we have one.
Yeah, I didn't make it this, I lumped it in. Now, if you don't want to lump it in, you want to pull it back out, I'd be happy to do that. If you want to exclude
lumped it in with what?
Maybe you should
medical
go with the
facilities. I lumped it in with hospitals, hospices, all of those things.
So where would nursing homes be in town?
Well, hospices, you see, that's another thing. I'll have a facility over here where staffing and things get set, but then the people go into people's home.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
99
Oh, yeah. Most of the time.
for hospice. Yeah, they don't, people want to die at home with their family. I don't know, it's 99.9, it's a very high number.
So we're seeing,
In which
excuse the
nursing
term,
care-
we're seeing the death of hospice facilities. But there are like little facilities that people have.
I don't even mind them having it come under the medical facility if you're gonna allow it, then you can combine it. If you're not going to say the nursing home, because those that are going, again, for the nursing, just my point of view, and just a small one, those aren't the ones that are gonna be participating in this district. Is the building, would the building be a benefit to the town, obviously.
The DB two though, that
Yeah.
it's allowed. It's not a DB one.
Okay, sounds good. You can roll it right up.
Okay.
If you guys are all in agreement.
Well, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, lodging.
Just one thing about that though, so in effect, the nursing homes are allowed DB two because it can be found within medical
Yes.
facilities. But it doesn't, it shows up as a definition in the old,
Yes, it does. It's a separate definition of the old.
One little
But-
piece.
it doesn't show up on the list of permitted uses.
Medical facilities, no.
Medical facilities, but if, we all know that nursing is buried in there, but if someone came in 10 years, we're not around, they were looking, nursing homes aren't allowed.
Yeah, but it's listed in the medical facility.
They just have to.
Read the
Nursing home, say
definition.
medical facility.
Instead of turning around and filling in the spot where you're
It
allowed to
says
have it.
nursing homes here under medical facilities.
It does there, but if I want to open up a nursing home, I'm looking at nursing home, and then I look here, permitted use is not allowed, it's in like a gray area, it doesn't show up. I guess we'd have to know to look under medical facility at the time. I'm all right with that. It's gonna be, how many are we gonna get?
Well, you can get repetitive and say medical facilities and nursing homes if you really wanted to do that.
No.
We'll just leave it alone.
Okay.
They'll
You
find it.
just added
Make
up.
them work, define it, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's what the planner's for. It's supposed to
That
help.
will
them.
all make it.
I'm not gonna be here for 10
I'm
years.
sure you will.
You gotta get through the ordinance.
That's right, so you may be here for longer than you think.
So the Catholics are right about purgatory, huh?
So,
Don't go there, Tom.
so the motel, hotel, lodging, I mean, they're all the same thing.
Yeah, there's some places in the ordinance where you may want motels, and some places may want hotels. You may want bed and breakfasts. Bed and breakfasts can work in some residential neighborhoods close to, they might work in like the townhouse corner district, they might work down, in some other district. They're distinctly more residential than a hotel is, so I made some distinctions there, but in the DB1, DB2, lodging means everything. Anything you want to put in the DB1, DB2, except for boarding houses.
Can I
Under
throw
lodging,
something
you
else
have
in there?
typo, so.
What I have, Rush?
You got West instead of guess.
You got questions?
How do you spell it? Of course it's with a Q.
To itinerary?
Sorry.
We have itinerant questions.
What is that? Itinerary what?
Conference center. Put that in with hotel, motel, conference center.
You know, I think a
That's a good
conference,
point.
I think a conference center would be a good business myself.
It is.
Come down, that close to Kennebunkport, you could bring in a lot of people, I would think. But we don't have
But you
that
have
as
to
an
tie
approval.
hotel to it.
Huh?
You have to tie a hotel to it.
Yeah.
But if you click it in, because the hotel would have a conference center many times.
Yeah, well, you bring up, that's a thing, good thing to bring up, Marty. And also, it just made me realize that there's something missing in this that I haven't considered until you brought that up. And that would be something like an event center, an auditorium or an event center. And you say, what the hell's that? And I'm thinking,
Place weddings.
weddings.
That's why I said conference function hall.
But a recreational facility.
No, you aren't gonna
Getting
have,
married is.
you aren't gonna get married, you aren't gonna get married and you're
There's
gonna
no
have a
fun.
fancy wedding in a recreation center.
See, conference center, what was the other term that was used here? Function hall. Function hall, I like that. All right, I'll come up with a definition for that.
Why?
What's remuneration?
Remuneration.
You get
To be
paid.
paid for, to be given something in kind,
It's like a glorified rental hall.
maybe a pat on the back saying, you did a good job.
Yeah, that's what we
You
get
get
here.
the 25-cent back.
Get the pat on the back.
Why are boarding houses excluded from lodging?
Because they're usually a residential structure.
They have to be a residential.
They have to be a
Yeah.
residential structure.
Okay.
And so, you know, the board is pretty adamant about limiting residential.
Well, like you said, you have somebody coming in specifically to kind of look at a boarding house, so it'd be nice under those things when you
Yeah,
take a look and see if
they were
it's
looking
a-
to house Summerhouse and put them in a boarding house, and then when I said, so you folks looking at it, I said, no. It's, oh, I'm sorry, a boarding house, the family's gotta be living there, because that is a true boarding house. Otherwise,
Resident hall.
yeah, that's what it is. You've got some parental, well, I wasn't thinking parental, but you have people who have a stake there. It's really not a lot different than bed and breakfast, except all meals are provided, or can be provided in a boarding house versus, bed and breakfast in a boarding house usually is long-term, much longer term.
You don't have laundry facilities and
Yeah, you usually share bathrooms in a boarding house too, as you do in a bed and breakfast too.
next.
Yep, recreational facility. You know, I really found myself really kind of disturbed by the definition of a recreational center. A recreational facility being defined by profit or non-profit.
Yeah, you can look at Fun Town and other places, they're recreational
Of course
facilities.
they are.
Now, one other thing, question where we've been through and which we had a big discussion on was, you've got recreation, okay, what about, what we had was where the resort center was gonna be. There was gonna be a motorcycle, that was recreation.
Yeah, I think that would qualify.
Well, it was shot down in the past.
All right, yeah, but we're building a new ordinance now.
Noise. I'm just throwing it out.
Well,
It's like the same thing as we were throwing out before, is blasting, mining.
if they can control the noise in an area and show that it's not gonna go off their boundaries, they ought to be able to do it. As long as they take care of the odor, smoke, transport, all the other things. But it does, under the definition,
Yeah,
the only thing, any commercial owner which receives fee in return for the provision of some recreational activity, including but not limited to movie theaters, miniature golf courses, tennis courts, then we go indoor sports facilities. So, you know, it's indoor and outdoor.
It could be either way.
We have an outdoor rifle range.
Don't violate the noise ordinance.
Right.
yeah.
Looks like an outdoor concert
That
venue.
doesn't
They
necessarily go
violate the
over
noise ordinance.
100
Doesn't
decibels.
violate benefits noise ordinance.
The only
I mean, you're bringing up a good point, Maureen, about the noise of like go-kart place. But
I wasn't thinking of go-kart so much, because the reason is, what we had where the seasonal resort was, we had somebody who wanted to go in there and buy it and put in a motocross. And that got shot down totally.
There are still standards that they have to meet.
I realize that, but I'm just throwing something out that,
Yeah, and the DB1, that probably wouldn't be a good fit.
you need acreage.
Something-
You know, you need, your DB1.
Something like that, could be a go-kart, just with 1 acre. you know.
Electric one. Electric go-karts.
Electric, yeah.
They would fit.
Yeah, they would.
What do you think, gentlemen? Do we need to make a distinction between recreational and motorsports? I think we probably do, don't we?
Yeah.
I think we really do.
Well,
I don't see why. I
I think the
honestly.
noise issue is because right now we have them as permitted uses, in which they don't have to meet any conditions.
could it be
It's-
conditional and it would have,
That's the only thing I'm thinking, that you can make it conditional, but if you're gonna make it conditional, you gotta have some very strong standards on why it's conditional.
And when
It
you
would
get
be
the noise,
focused on noise and dust.
and when you get the noise, that's a tough thing to,
That's a real tough one.
I mean, we had that problem with Bentley's as far as noise, I mean, how you gonna measure it?
I don't know, but, so maybe we shouldn't allow certain things then, if we can't deal with the noise.
There's an interesting issue. Maybe we
Because it's gonna
can,
be much more dense than any place else in town, the density with, could be, daycare centers, nursing homes, and movie theaters off, and businesses, and then you got a go-kart track right in the middle of it, and does that fit?
I don't understand that these businesses aren't gonna have to comply with all of the basic standards, the performance standards and the regulation. They don't have to, we're not putting on special conditions of approval, but they are gonna have to meet setback requirements. They're gonna have to meet the 60 decibels. They are gonna have to over dust,
Well,
traffic.
Roger was giving a good point, that with Bentley's, it may have been an issue, but it went on for years, and there were lawyers involved and all kinds of studies, and what can we do? Nothing. If it is an issue, noise and odor are tough to deal with.
No, but I think in that review process, you know, I think a diligent review, you got a go-kart track in a highly populated area, obviously it's gonna be disruptive to the community. What it takes is people to do their job here and say, no, that's not approved for this area.
Well, the other thing is with the go-kart, sitting on a go-kart track, it would be normally, quote unquote, part of an amusement park, like Budtown, okay, I'm using that as an example, and you aren't gonna be putting it on a 1 acre lot. I mean, you're gonna have to have massive land
Yeah, so it's
for
not fit
the
maybe-
facility.
I've also seen mini golf courses that have go-karts too,
So I
like Seacoast Fun Park,
Huh?
like Seacoast Fun Park. You can have small courses.
Where's that?
It's in Wyndham.
Yeah.
Well, but you have,
Yeah, but
but wait a minute, but you have people that are coming to that because that's more a resorting just to get away and do something. You don't have anything drawing that here to Arundel.
If we build it, they will come.
Yeah, I know.
Don't bet on it.
We're
We gotta,
we're approaching a 9:45,
I
and
think
we've got
we
other
need to be
business.
careful with the recreation facilities.
why don't you try to come up with something that distinguishes?
Non-motorized?
yeah. Maybe make it motorized recreational.
Well, Ferris wheels are motorized.
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
but motorsports, I can make a definition.
Yeah.
Because that would also include dirt biking, motocross.
Okay.
And you know what?
Sandbagging.
No, great, and yeah, actually, it's a great place to put it, is in the DB one.
Yeah.
In those, that area up there.
Motorcycle
Terrific
racing
place.
around the Bentleys.
Hill climbing.
And what was the
Hill
other
That's
one?
what-
climbing in
That
Harvard.
was part of what they wanted to do there.
Really?
What was the other one you were gonna write? A convention center?
Convention
Sort
center,
of like an
Function hall.
outdoor.
conference
Function.
center, function hall, and motorsports recreation facility.
Okay, we didn't get to the uses and design standards in the DB2, and we won't be able to do that tonight. We also, just for the board's thing, we were supposed to also go over the mining and the DI tonight from our notes from last week, but we took it off when we weren't getting through all the good stuff. So I'll move on to item 5, and maybe we can start with DB2, uses, design standards, and the definitions, finish those up for our next meeting. And we can look at BI as it relates as well there.
Okay, so put
perhaps.
those two on that,
Yeah.
that'll be the agenda next time. Okay. All right, good.
Planner's report.
Let's see. I can't remember if I reported this last time, I didn't read the minutes. Yeah, I know.
Try it, try it.
The EDC has had their public hearings on the Townhouse Corner District, and they're kind of stymied right now. I think they're gonna just basically they're not gonna send you a finished product back, they're gonna send you big recommendations.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna have a meeting next month, and I wanna hammer down, their final recommendations to you. They were under the impression that we might get that ready for a town meeting.
Wrong.
Yeah, I kinda told them that, they were disappointed with my answer. Very disappointed, but that's.
You explain the timeline here?
I explained the timeline, and they were wondering why we didn't take it out of, why we just didn't pass that and not include it as part of the overall zoning package and just make it a special district. And it just said that wasn't the board's intent, and there was still a lot of work to be done on that. And the EDC had not quite yet gotten really very firm on exactly what they were looking at. But they've done their work, they've met with the neighborhood, they've had 2 meetings, the second one was more successful. Bob, you attended that one. So that'll be a district that they're gonna make recommendations to you folks to act on. And it's gonna be limited, it's not gonna go all the way up to campground or, that's they had talked about, so.
Not yet.
I'm just curious, any resistance at all?
Yes. Yes.
Good.
Yeah, there was concern by some members of the neighborhood about scale, about noise, traffic, trip generation was a big concern, character, and they had also, several of the EDC members had discussed parking, using it as a parking area for North Kennebunkport. That didn't fly very well.
Never did last time.
We had that proposal once.
Yeah.
That was bus parking.
It came back, and I was kind of surprised at that.
And there
Because
was
I was
one-
trying to get into the
Yeah,
issue
there
of
was-
character and what's important here, and that came up immediately, and that pretty much ended that discussion.
I think maintaining the character was number one, and there's one that doesn't want any change whatsoever. But again, that's typical with every change that goes through. The board was commended by that same individual for the work that we've done in other areas that happen to be in their area.
So that will be coming to us as well, so they.
When was that?
They had that, what was that, April 2nd? That back then.
That was in there.
A month ago.
Yeah, it was a month. It was a little more, it was almost 2 months ago.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but they have, and I had one meeting with them to go over and say, here's what I've written up from that, and it just, it wasn't a meeting that was conducive. And I missed the last one. So I'm gonna bring it up and say, I know you guys don't wanna get into the weeds, as they say, and get into the specifics, so I need to have a clear idea they will give you a clear idea of what the goals are, and then I'll write the ordinance in accordance with that goal, and then you guys determine how well that is achieved, and whether their goals are the same as what you think the planning board goals are. But they did a good job. They did a good job. Also, the attitude survey is going to be wrapping up. Those of you who have not gone online to the town website and filled it out, I implore that you please do it. It's really important because it also has an activity bank in there, and activity banks, where you go for this, what you do on your leisure time and so forth. Those are really, really critical. Very, very critical. I've also talked to Chesapeake Group about some of their statistical findings, and they did goodness, I can't believe I forgot the term for it. It's basically an analysis to determine what we're underrepresented in York County and then in Arundel on various types of businesses, up-and-coming businesses or just business groups that we're underrepresented in and that hold opportunity for us. Gives them an idea of what they should be focusing on. as you can imagine, we're
We're
not a
represented
represented area.
We're not
So
represented
he
in any
said,
area.
wow, the sky's the limit here, isn't it?
Well, we got our adult store.
Well, what was interesting also about it too is that the results weren't much different for York County. York County is very well underrepresented. And what he did is he compared us to comparable areas of the country in terms of population. I thought some of them were a little unfair because they're in more urbanized areas, and I told him so. Focus more on the more rural areas, and you don't. If you're going to give us a SMA, make it Wichita. Don't make it like Buffalo. Suburbs of Buffalo or Tulsa. So, and he laughed at that. But where he says there's, the sky's the limit. There's a lot of opportunity out there. We're underestimating ourselves, and he says that there's lots of opportunities. My big question still remains cost-benefit ratio of certain types of infrastructure to capture the markets that is going to be identified. That's something we need to know. That's something the selectmen need to know, and the planning board needs to know. He also, just out of interest, he also said that that our instincts on the DB stuff is pretty good. He hasn't really looked at it to give us his take on it, but that the opportunities and deficits analysis is next. But he is, I've sent him some of the materials and given him a synopsis. And it says that the town is from the focus groups and so forth. The town is looking to create an identity and create a center of some sort. And so it may not be your downtown business district you're going to do, but they want a center. They want to focus, and that's going to be the planning board's challenge. We'll know more as we continue with our surveys, and they have more focus group. And of course, we have the community-wide meeting that we're going to be having on going over some of the results. That's supposed to happen in June or July.
Sure.
Sure. So, anything else in the planner's report? Applications, we've approved 2 more private way exclusions. One on West Lane, or West Lane, and the other on, you'll love this, guys, John Clough Road, which we got appealed on. Yep, they met the criteria, they got a lot. So, but it achieved, it's been going very smoothly. West Lane was the first place that I've had to do some actual a lot of physical reconstruction. I forgot to mention also, we have one on Curtis Road. It's caused a bit of a fervor, but it met all the criteria. The studies were done, met the criteria, so we have one on Curtis Road. We also have the completion of a private way that was done at staff level private way, and that is Victoria Lane, and it's off of Old Post Road. That's being completed right now, and they're actually reducing their bond today. So, planners report, that's about it.
Any update
Where?
on?
Update.
What about zip code?
Zip code, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as you folks all read, the zip code, the selectmen told Todd to go ahead. And I kept in touch with Collins's people in Washington. And Todd has gotten hold of King's people. And it's all the same. And we basically have started putting together the application, the letter of request to the postmaster. It doesn't go to Collins, it doesn't go to King, it doesn't go to Pingree, it goes to the postmaster in Portland. She's already said some comments, and her aides have already said some comments, saying, well, that doesn't happen very often, and all the rest of the stuff. But, quite frankly, I think I really don't see, it's going to be a long fight, let's put it that way. It'll be a long fight. We have a list of good numbers. We have a list of good numbers that are right on either side of our current number. So it won't be that much of a change. It'll be a little change. And you wonder why they left those numbers vacant. Obviously they leave those numbers vacant in anticipation of expansion and growth in the future. Well, Arundel's one of those expansion zones, so. But I've left that to Todd. I will, I don't know when he's gonna finish the letter and get it out. I think it'll be probably after town meeting, it'll get to the postmaster. But we did get a lot of press, didn't we? Which is good. Update on anything, Marty's?
Yeah. Actually, how many surveys have been turned in?
I don't know.
Or an idea?
I don't know. I'm not in charge of that.
Some people are doing them online, some people are doing them on paper.
Right.
I don't-
And that's going, and the ones online go to Howard directly, and the ones on paper get shipped to him by these. You guys take those, right?
Yes, we have them in the office.
You have them in the office, and when they're completed, when we reach the deadline, then they'll be shipped off to Howard.
Hey, who keeps sending out the email asking me to fill that out? I filled it out the first time that came up. Who's sending them to me?
I don't know who's responsible for the work.
Tad?
No, I have nothing to do with that. I really don't. I'm not
What's
doing
the-
robo emails.
What's the story on Kate's?
Kate's is going crazy.
But, because there's another thing in the paper about Old Orchard and dates and sets and
Yeah,
in
Old
comparison
Orchard.
to what we're,
Yeah, their administrative review committee, they apparently missed a meeting with them in which they were gonna, bring down the hammer. And apparently they missed the meeting, and so they sent them a letter saying, oh, this time we really mean it, we're gonna pull your business license. And actually, pulling your business license is viable in Old Orchard Beach, because every business must have a license. It's renewed annually or biannually. And if you don't have that license, you don't operate business. And so that was what they were being threatened with. They came to an amicable solution. Their objective is to get the building done by July. And the plumbing Chris has been designing like crazy and fabricating, and the plumbing their objective is to get in September. They want to get out of Old Orchard Beach, obviously. It's important.
well, I asked that because like, last time it was,
July 1st.
yeah, that's why, I mean, and the way the paper said it was early fall.
Well, in actual operation.
In actual operation,
Right.
yeah. I mean, it's one thing to have the building up, it's the other thing to have it.
I know, I've been through it.
So, what, the point is that they're, if you go out there, if you take I mean, come on, it's a lot better than it was a month ago. They're
they've
going
done
great
it.
guns, they've got a good contractor, the guy's actually it was the contractor who insisted that all the old panels be moved off site, because he said it was, I talked to him, and he said, that is a blight and it's a bad memory for the townspeople. It needs to go off site so they start thinking of Kate's in terms of a brand new beautiful facility. And I'm pretty excited about it. Dan's very excited about it. Howard met with Dan and Chris for, God, an hour and a half that I wouldn't wait for. And Dan's really invigorated. So they're already working on their cattle. They're going to be coming in for a barn application. They want dairy cattle there.
Yeah.
And I think it's, yeah, I know. I hope they understand how much work that is.
Well, yeah. Well,
there's
the
another-
Allison works with them all the time, so she knows.
Yep.
Knows what they're getting into.
Okay.
Question is, will they have to, are they gonna come in for the cattle and everything else before they move in? Because that won't be,
For the barn,
yeah, because that wasn't on site plan, that wasn't part of the plan.
No, it wasn't part of the plan, but they can't, remember, they can't expand on the site up to a certain percentage. So, yes, would they have to get an approval for that? Yeah.
and part, although the barn wasn't on the plan, keeping cattle was on the plan.
Yeah.
Keeping cattle
Yeah, it was.
They can always put it on the big garage.
Yeah, I think they were gonna have a couple down front
Right.
for a show.
Yeah, originally, and there were beef cattle originally.
Right. Yeah, no, they're gonna be milking quite a few, I heard 40 to 60 head.
That's what I hear.
Anything come out of the meeting with Marilyn Young as far as parking or a piece of thing?
I can't comment on that, but it's not as negative as everybody would imagine.
Not as negative. is what you're saying.
Well, no, Marilyn and Todd had a good conversation, and I think there's gonna be more conversation.
Okay.
You had said that at the last meeting that the boys had gotten some time to do the rebuttal.
Yeah, they asked for a
Town comment.
14-day extension to basically answer our submissions.
So that's about.
That was submitted. They made that deadline, that's submitted, it's before the judge. We received a copy of it. And so now that's gonna, the next move is, it's gonna basically gonna go to the judge for summary hearing.
Okay.
I don't know when that is, they hasn't told me when that's scheduled, I'm not sure it is scheduled yet.
Any other business of the board?
Anything more with CMP?
Which issue?
Sometime this summer is when it was originally planned to do.
It was supposed to be starting in April, and I haven't seen anything happen, but, yeah, it's, the last call I got from Florida was that it was gonna be April.
Well, isn't it because the contractor isn't getting the poles that they need?
I don't know, I have
That's
not
what I
gotten an
heard.
update.
Yeah, there is
since-
definitely an
I have not
issue.
gotten an update, John, since February.
There's an issue between Hawkeye and CMP.
Right.
Hawkeye is suing CMP for 43 million.
It's nothing easy.
Anything going on with that tip? That we're looking at?
Which TIF?
The CMP.
Yes, it's being prepared right now. Okay. I'm still waiting on the chief to give me, I have my idea of what I want for a compliment. I had to do something, right? And the chief is supposed to get back to me with his compliment. And his consist, if you will. And we're gonna go to Mondo.
Can you explain to the board, you guys are having a.
I'm sorry.
Conversation
Oh,
down
I'm
there.
sorry.
I'm sorry, basically, it's regarding what the fire department will want for, what their needs are gonna be in the next 20 years for the bond. The two parameters that still have not been determined in the preparation of the TIF district on this, and it's gotta move, because we gotta get it done by November. The two elements are that, are we gonna bond, and how much are we gonna do it for? Well, it's pretty much been decided, and the manager has pretty much made the decision, and consulted with the selectmen that the best way to do this is to bond rather than do incremental drip financing of equipment over time. But to do bond and make some reasonable purchases and then put aside money periodically to ensure that there is a replacement schedule so the town doesn't get whacked like they're facing right now, replacement of all material at the same time. But to do it is bonding, and what would happen is the bond payments would be paid from the captured value from the TIF. And so it would be structured to make sure that it would never go into the general ledger. It would always be from the captured value. And since CMP, I can't get a decent depreciation schedule from either Maine Revenue Services or from CMP, what the depreciation is. I'm building in a depreciation factor of 4%. So if they ask for a review of our taxing on it, that at least we'll have some depreciation built in, so we don't get caught. The second issue is going to be really what is the what are we going to buy? What are we going to do? One thing we can do that can change the rules is that we can also use it to improve fire facilities. It used to be that you couldn't. It wouldn't be just for equipment. You could use it for facilities. So I think that's what's
districts are we talking
So
about?
we can use
Yeah.
it to tear down the town hall and expand the fire station because we gotta replace the town
Right.
hall.
That's well, what about,
Basically, yeah.
TIF is supposed to be business,
No.
correct?
Not,
Tax incentive usually is for businesses. Is it not relating anything to businesses?
yes, it is. It's related to CMP. It's related.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, the benefits.
Yes, well, the benefits
For the town.
are going to be for the town, basically. Whether or not it folds over into the downtown district, which is the only other place the money can go. See, the TIF money only can be expended in the TIF district unless you have a designated downtown district. And then you can put some of the monies into that downtown district.
No,
Since this
Yes,
isn't,
yeah.
since this really isn't the board stuff, can we
Yeah.
conclude? Then you guys can have your conversation
Yeah, I'm
afterward. These guys can go and do whatever they need to do.
That being the case, can I make a motion to adjourn?
I wanted to take a minute before we
Oh,
adjourn.
okay.
Tonight's the last regular meeting that I'm gonna be at. I'm gonna be at the meeting next week for the public hearing. Some of you aren't gonna be here next week, so won't have a chance to say. I'm moving on, and unfortunately, I have to leave the board. There was no way that we could, come to an agreement that my keeping use of my wood shop in the back of my garage constituted residency, so I couldn't stay on the board, because I would have loved to. But I've learned a lot in the last year, and I've appreciated all the time that I've spent and worked with all of you. It's been wonderful, it's been great, it's something I'll always remember. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wish you well.
Thank you, Greg.
Good addition. Okay,
Now.
have a motion to adjourn, have a second to adjourn, even after those statements. All in favor?
Guys.
Call me out of order.
Let me out of order. But that, see, that's why I make my comments, we, everybody was Ted, what do you think it is?
For what? For what feature?
I don't know if I had said something about his support.
Guess what, we're still filming.
That's okay, you would have done it. Okay, enjoy.